What is going on, everybody? Welcome to FightTalk Unfiltered Breakdown. Here we go, the biggest show that we're going to have to date. It is Wednesday, September 28th, here live at Culture Shock Barbershop. And here you're going to get an exclusive look at every single matchup from Friday night and Saturday night. Get into the man, the myth, the legend, Mike Goodwin's brain and how he makes all these matchups and puts them all together and what he's thinking. Also here with the other co-host, Zack Micklewright, ex-fighter, current fireman, and I'm Josh Neal, current pro fighter, and we're ready to rock this thing. How you guys doing today?
Decent.
Well, decent, man. I'm gassed up.
It's been a day.
It's been
already.
a day. Well, I'm gonna say first and foremost, good to see you guys.
Yeah, always.
We are 2 weeks away. This is when
2 weeks, man.
Woo! This is when it starts to get crazy. Oh man, I'm excited. Big shout out. Congratulations. Got a baby coming real soon, man. That's huge. That's
dad.
that's amazing.
Give
Daddy
him a round of applause
Micklewright.
at home.
Yes, sir. About to be a dad. So, yeah, man, I'm excited. I think we should get right into it, but I want to get the love out of the way. You know, once again, of course, Mindprint Productions, Paul Martinez just walked out of here, getting everything set up for us, always taking care of the technical stuff. So big shout out to him. He puts on all the visual stuff you pretty much see with Caged Aggression, all the videos and stuff. So, man, he's a mastermind. So we appreciate him. And Culture Shock, you know,
For sure.
got to have a place to be to do this thing. So we always appreciate them opening the doors to us to be able to do this. I know you guys are busy. I appreciate the platform that we've kind of built here to be able to talk about the shows and the fights and honestly just to hang out with you guys.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it's been a couple weeks. I feel like every time we come in here, we're like, man, it's been too long. But, you know, we're all grown-ups. We all got shit to do. But it's always a pleasure to be in here with you guys, for sure.
Yeah, I can't wait to get into the cards. There's a lot of great action-packed fights. October 14th, Friday and Saturday. But yeah, like you said, getting back to that, every time we come in here, it seems like it's been, months. Sometimes it is months, and then sometimes it is weeks, but it's always great getting in here and chopping it up, and I look forward to it every time. So
For sure. You know, I never thought that someday we'd be doing multi-night events in the fall. Those were always kind of the March thing, 2-night event in March and single-night events, but as the thing has continued to grow and so many talented fighters want to be a part of it, it just seems like one night isn't enough. And I get asked a lot, like, why don't you do more shows? Why do you do more shows? What people I think have forgotten is, like, this year we'll be doing 5 shows. We're just doing them in 2 multi-night events.
Right.
And I'd rather I'd rather put in a ton of work and blow up a big multi-night event than do 5 single shows a year and try to market each
just
one
doing them in 2
and try to fight the timing with summer and everything.
And I'd rather do I'd rather put in a ton of work. I don't know if we'll ever do a one-night event again.
Shows worked out great with summer.
Once again,
I'd rather do
I'd rather put in so much work.
It's never anything personal. Shows worked out great with summer.
Once again, I'd rather do
big shout out.
I'd rather put in so much work.
It's never anything personal. Shows worked out great. Once again, I'd rather do a shout out. I'd rather put in so much work. It's never anything personal. Shows worked out great. Once again, I'd rather do a shout out. I'd rather put in so much work. It's never anything personal. Shows worked out great. Once again, I'd rather do a shout out. I'd rather put in so much work. It's never anything personal. Once again, I'd rather do a shout out. I'd rather put in so much work. Break down this match or anything. Well, I'll tell you what, guys. So I say these things a lot. I sound like a broken record. Well, I'll tell you what, guys. So I say these things a lot. I sound like a broken record. Well, I'll tell you what, guys. So I say these things a lot. I sound like a broken record. Well, I'll tell you what, guys. So I say these things a lot. I sound like a broken record. Well, I'll tell you what, guys. So I say these things a lot. I sound like a broken record. Well, I'll tell you what, guys. So I say these things a lot. I sound like a broken record. Well, I'll tell you what, guys. So I say these things a lot. Thank you, fellas.
Keep that off unless you're playing any videos.
No videos. How does this sound, guys? Is that better?
Yeah,
No
from
echo?
the computer itself.
Yeah. Let me double check it. Make sure you're good.
You let us know. Keep us in the know.
Keep us
We
in
will
the
figure
know.
this out. It's better.
Good to go?
Way more better. All right,
Okay.
let's go.
Sorry
We're
about
back
that.
to normal.
Thank you, fellas. All right, so again, first fight on the card, equally as important as the last fight because it sets the pace for the show. Kind of kicks off the night, gets the fans going. So, yeah, I mean, main event. You always hear main event, but to me, every fight matters.
Yeah.
So hopefully that shows in the way we built the cards, and I'm ready when you are, man.
Well, you
Kick
kick
it
it off.
All right. So first night one, first fight of the night is going to be John Kerr versus Chad Kirkov. So what we got here is John. The reason that a couple reasons we put this fight first. John Kerr, local boy, trains in Marty's martial arts, and I got the name Chad from Tim Hernandez over at Summit Training Center, and this was a fight that we originally talked about in March for the 3-night event.
Yeah.
And here's one thing that I said this earlier. It's very important to me. The matchup has to make sense. At that time, John's coach did not feel it was the right time, the right time for the matchup. And I love that, man. The last thing I ever want is somebody just getting in there that isn't ready, isn't prepared, especially if their coach doesn't think so.
Yeah,
I mean, that's
for
what your
sure.
coaches and managers and stuff are there for. So what's cool about this fight is this is a long time coming. This isn't a fight that we just threw together to put on the first night, the first fight. This is a fight that's kind of been talked about for a while now. Now these guys have had even more time to prepare for their debut. They're both debuting. Chad, I got the name from Tim. He's actually a wrestler, and from what I've been told, what I can tell, pretty good wrestler. And I think that was kind of the concern with John's coach. Maybe the wrestling was too advanced. He's had now 6 more months to prepare for this. Your classic brawler versus wrestler to kick off the night, and I think we both know that when you get a wrestler in there, especially for a debut, it seems like the last thing I want to do is wrestle.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Kind of
Yeah, for
berserker
sure.
mode.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
What I see is 2 somewhat hometown boys starting off the whole weekend for the fans, man. And I love debut fights, especially if I can do debut versus debut.
Yeah.
So, again, we've got a guy that's coming out that knows Chad wants to wrestle. He's going to do what he can to keep it on the feet, brawl, throw the hands that he's been working on. And Chad, we'll see. Maybe same thing. Maybe he wants to come out and show what he's been working on outside of wrestling. But if things get testy, he might take him down.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's always good to get that debut fighter right there to kick it off because
sure.
it's going to come with action. Both guys are amped up. They've been training for a long time and they're ready to get in there and get after it. Speaking of training for a long time, I've actually trained with John before, and he's been training for a while. He's actually been in the gym when I've stopped over there at Marty's. Back a couple of years ago, he was in there, so I kind of know his style, and I haven't seen him train in a while, but if they were taking time to get him ready for this, I'm sure he's improved drastically, so I'm ready to see what he's going to do as well.
Yeah, I always like that type of matchup where it's like the stand-up guy versus a wrestler, especially in a debut fight because everybody wants to know what they got. Everybody wants to feel that shot, that first punch with the 4-ounce gloves, and then see what happens from there. Let's see what animal instincts that they come up with. So it'll be interesting for sure.
For sure, man. I think it's a great start to the weekend. So we'll go into fight number 2 for night number 1. We're going to do Zack Pridemore versus Cameron Gallagher. So Zack Pridemore actually debuted for Caged Aggression in March. He comes from CU Jiu-Jitsu, now Lycan's Den, with James Martin. James Martin, a top contender, fought Brock Swinburne. Tough guy on the ground. But the good thing about these guys is that it's they're primarily a jiu-jitsu school, but they definitely work on their stand-up. They go over and cross-train with the Blackerby boys and all those, kickboxers, Muay Thai style. So very well-rounded for still what I consider a new amateur to the game. And then on the other side of the card, we got a Cameron Gallagher. So Cameron is actually up at Primal MKE. So originally we had worked on a female bout. We had an international fighter that unfortunately she couldn't get her visa in time, her passport to make it work. So it's something that we postponed until March. However, Cameron was a teammate that wanted to make his debut on this show with the female fighter. And, when somebody commits to me, I fully commit back. And when the female fight fell off, I didn't think it would be fair to Cameron to pull him from the card. I mean, he was equally as excited and he was committed. So we kept the fight, man. And I really like that too, because they're making a long trip down here for a debut amateur fighter. So shout out to their team and to him for still wanting to be on the show. And he's kind of coming into a whole new world with the way we do things. It can be a little distracting with the cameras and the lights and stuff for a debut fighter. So to make the trip all the way from Wisconsin to come down here and fight a guy that has fought before, I mean, he's got some cage time. It's pretty impressive to me. Both very well seasoned on the ground for being so new to the game. That's kind of their specialty. So for the fans out there that do like a good, transitional jiu-jitsu ground game, it's a perfect matchup. But again, will they come here and put on a grappling match?
Yeah.
That's the thing. You get two ground guys. Maybe they just want to test our stand-up against each other.
Totally.
Hey, and that says something about a guy, too. Shows what kind of balls he has to want to debut on Caged Aggression away from home. You know what I mean?
Alone.
Yeah, alone. Big stage, a lot of cameras, a lot of fans. Both nights will probably most likely be sold out. And, to fight at a local home show where, the matchup's mostly in your favor, I'd say, to come all the way here knowing that you don't get easy wins around here, that speaks to his character and what kind of fighter he is without even seeing him in the cage right now.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree more.
Yeah, it's a great fight. I'm looking forward to that one too. So next up, we've got the return of Derek Anderson, making his fourth appearance in our cage versus KJ Arnold, who's making his debut in our cage. KJ Arnold also trains at Marty's Martial Arts. He's coming off a debut win at North Iowa Fights, and it was kind of exactly what we talk about with amateur debuts. I had no idea that this kid is a wrestler. I mean, to the core. And if you've seen his first fight, it was anything but that. I don't even know if it ever went to the ground until he was ground and pounding for the win. Very impressive, very action-packed. This could have been a fight based on Derek Anderson's style. Derek Anderson loves to stand and bang. I met him through Bryn Heathcock. He fights like Bryn. He's evolving every time he gets in the cage. And shout out to Derek, man, because he's had tough opponents every single time he comes down here and fights. And, and to want to come back and still have trust in me, no matter what it looks like on paper, unfortunately, once they get in the cage, I have no control of it. And by the time we get to a show, man, like half my friends are going to lose, and that sucks, but they get better, and he's getting better every showing. So what's going to happen here, what I anticipate is they're going to come out and they're just going to swing for the fences, and then they're going to calm down because they've both been in the cage before. They don't have that first-time jitters. This could very well be a sleeper fight for maybe a fight that a lot of people don't know these guys yet. Right. Especially KJ. He's a local boy, but his debut wasn't here. He went out of town to take on his debut fight, and it was very exciting, man. So this is another one of those where, maybe on paper you're like, who are these guys or what's this going to be about? But they're going to come out swinging, and at that level and their bantamweights, I mean, all it takes is one clip.
Yeah. Oh, it's going to be action. Derek.
For sure. Derek, I've seen him fight before, and he you see him in this picture, and he looks like street folk, you know what I mean? Like he's just here to, to get into a nasty fight. But he's technical, and he's good, and he knows what he's doing on the ground, and he knows what he's doing on his feet. Like, he's a thinking man. Yeah. When really he just, when you see a picture of him, you're like, oh, man, I see what's going to happen.
He's just going to come out swinging from the hip. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly. But no, he's a good fighter. I'm interested to see what Arnold's got for him.
Yeah, to get into that real quick. Like we say, Derek, we've seen him fight before. never shies away from action. We know what he brings. It's going to be nonstop. This KJ kid, though, like you said, a hometown boy who made his debut away from home. He's got a lot of fans around here. I've already heard about him. His sister, was funny. I don't even know his sister, but she was at the softball fields out at my game.
Oh, you were telling us about this.
Hollering him out, telling everybody needs to come watch him fight. I'm sure she caught some fans for him there. So he's going to have... I think he's going to have a loud crowd come Friday night. I really do.
Good.
And I'm ready to see what he brings against a tough guy in Derek.
Yeah, that happens sometimes. I mean, I'm not sure, how far away that the show he debuted on it, 3-4 hours away, so to kind of go into a different area and make your debut and then win kind of an impressive fashion and then be able to come home in a big show.
Yeah.
I think he's going to have a lot of hometown support. But again, Derek's stepping into the cage for the 5th time, I believe, and that's a lot more cage time than KJ's had. So we'll see if that makes a difference in the fight. But either way, it's going to be action-packed for sure.
Absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
So next up, RJ Graham making his return to the Caged Aggression cage versus Preston LaGrange. Preston LaGrange is from Keone Coke Martial Arts, Hard Drive Performance Center.
Whoa, hold on. Is it Keone Coke Martial Arts now, or
It
is
is.
it Hard Drive Performance?
It's actually both. I've been
Okay.
advised Keone Coke Martial Arts, Hard Drive Performance Center.
Okay.
I think Hard Drive is kind of their staple. They've been around so long. That's like their performance center, but
Not
Keone,
everybody there does martial arts.
right?
Basically.
Yeah, there
I got
you
it.
go. Yep.
I got it.
Keone's wife.
That's a new thing.
Yeah.
for sure. That's like a new thing
Yeah.
with the hard drive.
Yeah, it's like a
It's the first time I've
performance
heard it.
center, but you still have Keone Coke, who is
Yeah.
martial arts to the core.
And
So
he's coaching the martial arts guys.
you got it, man. So
Hell yeah.
Preston, middleweight amateur. He's making his Cage Aggression debut. He wrestled through high school, competed in jiu-jitsu. Not really anything on the stand-up side. So now he's been with Keone for about 12 months. Keone sent me a couple guys early in the process of building the fight cards. Unfortunately, I can only get one of them on the card, but we actually talked about a couple different opponents at first. And RJ is the one that made the most sense. RJ came here and he debuted for us, and he had a 3-round battle. Like a super tough fight. And you could tell that he was fighting out of like 50% knowledge, skill, and what he learned in training to prepare for that, and 50% like grit and heart.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? He's just a very, very tough, gritty fighter. And what's cool about this is now he's had another year under his belt of training the martial arts side of things. So, one thing is you can't really teach his heart. You could teach martial arts all day, but when you've got both, I'm really excited to see what a year, after getting into the cage for the first time, he's got those jitters out of the way. Now it's like, okay, what do I got to do in this next year to prepare to get that first W? And man,
that's not just a year at a gym. You know what I mean? That's a year at Hard Drive. That's a lot different than coming from just some podunk gym in the West End, or
sure.
Not saying that MMAG is a podunk gym, because that's where I started. But 12 months at a gym with Keone Coke and his experience and his knowledge, that's like 3 years at just a regular gym. You know what I mean? It's gonna make a difference for sure. Hey, shout out to Laven, Paul Martinez's son. He wants a shout out, so shout him out, boys.
Shout out to Laven.
Shout him out mid-matchup.
He just got a nice fade by Micklewright. Ooh, this next one. Adam Smith versus Chauncey Toombs. So, Adam Smith, he's with Regulators Fight Team. Speaking of Koch brothers,
Yes.
we have a kid that is just exciting from start to finish, man. He's fought for us before. He's fought for B2, I believe. The fights that I've been able to watch from Adam, very, very, very fast-paced. Flashy. These guys are actually they're flyweights. This is going to be at a catch weight of 130 pounds. And man, I've said this before publicly, but that's one of my favorite divisions is the flyweight. I may be a little biased, but man, it's always fast paced.
Yeah.
And you think, man, these guys are small, but they still hit really hard.
Oh, yeah.
And it comes so quick. So then across the cage, Chauncey Toombs. This is one of Blackerby's boys. And he's been kickboxing for a while now, and it's time to transition over to MMA. As a matter of fact, side note that excites me a lot because he has a stable of kickboxers that are always fun to watch, that have been doing that for so long that, to switch over to the MMA side is pretty cool. Look what his son Thomas has done.
Yeah.
With the transition. So what this is going to be, neither one of these guys want to wrestle. Neither one of these guys want to grapple. This could potentially be one of those exciting sleeper fight of the nights because I can see 9 minutes of just straight kickboxing.
Yeah. For them fans that are wanting stand up, nonstop action, punch in the face, kick. This is your fight right here. Make sure if you're there live watching on pay-per-view, you tune into this fight because it's going to be what we're saying right now.
And it's good to have one of those barn burners right in the middle of the fight card, right before intermission, because it gives everybody something to talk about in the whole intermission. Like, oh my gosh, did you see that?
And if you're after intermission, you got to live up to it.
Yeah, right. So moving on.
Pressure on the young folk or on the older folk.
We're going to start to get into some more experience now. The undercard has got a lot of fairly new guys on the card. Next up, we have Mark Anthony versus Liam Morris. It's almost identical to the Adam Smith-Chauncey Toombs fight stylistically. You guys know Liam.
Yeah.
I like to call him Little Gladhill. We haven't seen Gladhill fight since he fought Shelton, but he was always really, really fun, exciting stand-up. Mark Anthony, same thing. Met him through Bryn Heathcock. Very, very, very technical for being so new to the game. But what Mark has that really stands out is this, and Liam, to be honest with you, is when they take a loss, they're a whole different fighter when they come back.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean? I mean, from you can almost tell when they walk out too, and they step in the cage, like there's a different level of confidence, like something, you take a loss and sometimes that can work in a negative way. So I've seen guys take a loss and that was it. They never came back,
right?
Or they couldn't recover from it. So to see the motivation that it brings these guys, both coming off tough losses, Liam, and maybe this was my fault. I thought that him and Bryn would be a good matchup. Maybe Bryn had too much experience on the boxing side. He took a tough knockout. Mark had a tough fight too and took a loss. So again, I don't have to say anything more than both of these guys are coming with everything they have to get that win back.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Everything to prove.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
And that's great to see with these young fighters that they don't take these losses and they go back to the gym and do the same things. They're working on new material. They're working on new moves. They're working on where they were weak in that fight and coming back and proving with something to prove, like you just said. And that's great to see in a young career.
Absolutely.
Ooh, this next one. This one is right before intermission, and I do think people in the bathroom talking. We've got James Martin and Josiah Molina.
This right here has got some, definitely got some fight of the night potential here.
Oh, for sure.
So we're going to start with James Martin. He's kind of quickly made a splash in the Caged Aggression cage. Top contender for sure, man. Just super duper well-rounded. He's a big 170, and they're actually doing a catch weight at 160.
Jeez.
So the first thing that stands out on this one is, what's the weight cut going to be like? What's the weight cut going to do?
I would say he was shredded last time we seen him, so going down another 10, holy hell.
Right. I have a pretty good feeling he's going to use that 1 pound advantage.
Oh, yeah.
And so, yeah, right? No, his stand-up is getting better and better each showing, too, because he's traditionally a Jits guy, but again, like I said about his teammate Zack Pridemore, they've been going over Peoria Muay Thai, training with those guys, the Blackerbees, so their stand-up's getting crisp. He will be facing primarily a straight kickboxer in Josiah. Yeah. It's been a while because he took a kickboxing match in between, but his last showing for us was one of those knockouts where he just fell like a tree.
Oh, yeah, he had that little check right hook because he's a southpaw.
Mm-hmm.
He had that little check right hook. Who was that against?
I can't remember either.
He fought a guy from Wisconsin up there that came down. It was
boy, he tucked him in.
Yeah, he did.
It was just like
clipped him.
And ironically, it was Versa Jits guy.
Yeah.
You know, that trains up there with Vanderlei. So the cool thing about this is it's kind of a similar matchup. You know, Josiah is working on his wrestling and his jiu-jitsu, but he's primarily a kickboxer. And again, fighting another guy that's pretty much a jiu-jitsu guy, you know, transitioning over. And man, every fight starts on the feet. But this is one of those fights where I think James has something to prove on the stand-up side. He's really been focused on that.
Yeah.
You know, to see where he can, you know, hold up against a true kickboxer. I love the fight. I told both of these guys I'd love the winner to fight for the title in March.
Yeah.
Just because they're right there.
Extra motivation right there.
Yeah.
for sure.
I mean, you take these steps. You know how we've always talked about, like, you face tougher competition as you continue to win, and then you get that title fight, and then it's maybe time to transition over to pro after a defense or something. So these guys are right there, both talented fighters, and that really is a perfect fight right before intermission.
Yeah. Both these guys, they have the talent to make that jump pro, especially if James's stand-up has progressed with how he's been training, they say he's been training. I mean, he can make the jump. Josiah, I believe he can make the jump right now as well. I've trained with Josiah. Sure. He's got that dog in him. He has been working on his wrestling, and his jits is nothing to sleep on as well. But he's fighting a beast in James Martin.
Yeah, James Martin impresses.
That has, like you said, some high-credential jits. I think I even seen a picture on his Facebook of him submitting Luis Pena before, or had him in a knee bar or something like that. I mean, so it's going to be action-packed. If Josiah can stop his wrestling, if James tries to take it there and use his wrestling, and they both get to standing, boom, banger.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I love that
I'm
fight.
impressed with that Martin, man. The last couple times he's fought, he doesn't look, when he walks out there, he doesn't look like an amateur. When he steps in the cage and starts swinging, he doesn't look like an amateur. He just got good experience.
Yeah.
He's well learned, and I'm excited to see him. But Josiah, I mean, he stays busy. Like you said, he takes kickboxing matches outside of MMA.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
He had that nasty knockout. It's gonna be a good matchup.
Yeah,
for sure.
Yep, I love that one.
For a Friday night mid
right.
You know, that Friday night intermission, pre-intermission fight. Psh, ridiculous.
So then we come back from intermission, and oh boy, this is going to be a crowd pleaser. We've got Dante Johnson versus Jordan Trower, the big boys.
The happiest man alive.
My goodness. Heavyweight amateur title fight. Man. Okay, so here's what it's been like for Jordan Trower. Wrestling. His wrestling is ridiculous. As you guys know, you've trained with him, like, his wrestling is ridiculous. So we had a bout in March, and although it was a little lackluster at times on the feet, you know, because neither guy wanted to wrestle, that was a fight to see who could fight for a vacant title now in October. Jordan pulled that one off in a decision. So what do I have to do? I've got to find him somebody who can hang with that wrestling. Dante Johnson, Fond du Lac, Wisconsin, Unified Martial Arts. He is undefeated, just like Jordan. He is a D1 wrestler with great boxing.
Oh,
okay.
Jeez.
Okay.
So what we have here is also a D1 wrestler across the cage that I wouldn't necessarily say great boxing yet, right?
Yeah.
Working on it,
Right.
you know, getting better with each fight, getting better as he continues to train. But what is the D1 wrestler going to do when he's got a guy that can throw really good, crisp hands?
Yeah.
You know, and so to me, it's, I want the amateur title fights. I want the amateur belts to not just be thrown around as promotional tools. You know, I really want them to matter. I want you to have to really earn those. And man, I think this is easily their toughest fights for each other to date.
Yeah.
But a spot on matchup that's going to really test both guys where they're at.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
I think that's awesome because Jordan, he's been winning pretty easy, I'd say. He's been doing using all his tools against his opponents and coming out with easy wins, I think. So I think it was time to find somebody for him that can match his wrestling and has some good stand-up to have him get his test right now. You know, it's time to get him tested. What he's had, how many fights in Caged Aggression now? He's training all the time. Now let's see what he can do with somebody who's up there. You know what I mean?
Yeah. How many fights has he had?
Jordan is 3-0.
3-0.
Yep.
Okay, yeah, all under your banner.
Yep.
And all wins.
Yeah. and the different, and he trains at, a few different gyms in town, and all the guys like, man, his wrestling.
Yeah.
His wrestling
He's
is
just
so
an
good.
anvil. Like, I mean, if you look at him, he just looks like a freaking tank. You know what I mean? Like,
Let me ask you guys this: is like when you train or in fights, the bigger wrestlers, because Jordan's shorter, he's a shorter, stockier wrestler. Is that tougher to deal with? Is that
for sure. I would say so because he's just like, he's round. You know what I mean? So, like, it'd be different if you had a long, lanky guy on top of you. Sometimes you can maneuver around him. Yeah. But, I mean, it's just stuffy when you got a big, round guy like that.
He's compacted.
He's a dense man, you know what I mean? So
he's not America's #1 beefcake for a reason, you know what I mean? Like, he tells himself. And if you guys have never seen him walk out to the cage or even seen him in the cage, it's a show from the minute you see him come behind that curtain until the end of the fight.
God,
so you'll be entertained.
Yeah.
Yes, for sure.
Well, I'm still waiting on his walkout song, because it has to be something he can dance to.
Oh, absolutely.
Quote Jordan Trowers.
I get it.
Tim says his foot weighs 100 pounds.
Which one, his left or foot? His left foot or his right foot?
All right, so now we're going to move into the professional portion of the card. 4 professional fights to cap off night 1. We're going big boys to big boys, man. Gabriel Saig versus Ryan Delph. So I had thought that Ryan Delph was done fighting.
We all thought in that.
I mean, I was at the show where it was, I believe, quietly announced that he was done. Mm-hmm. Husband, new father,
Daddy.
gym owner, personal trainer, the man of many hats, says, no, I'm not done.
Cigar lounge owner.
Yeah, multiple business owner. Here's the thing, man. You know how I feel about, like, retirement fights and continuing to fight. By no means is this Ryan's last fight, but I don't think that wishy-washy boxing shit. I mean, there's no other way to say it. Bullshit. And if you've been fighting a long time like he has, hell, he went out to Sturgis with us. We didn't get to fight because the guy backed out. But I mean, the guy's been around so long and in the game so long that, like, that can't be your last one, man. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? So I'm glad that he's back. I was glad to get the message, and I knew the perfect opponent. I had a guy that's been messaging me for probably a year now, pretty religiously. Every time we're working on a show, every time we make an announcement, what do you got for the big boys? What do you got for the big boys? And I get so many messages, it's really hard to gauge the commitment level, the skill set and all that stuff. Yeah. So he made his pro debut a few months ago in a pretty dominant, spectacular fashion versus a guy that was more seasoned than him, bigger, and he beat the brakes off of him.
Really?
So Ryan Delph is very much a brawler style. He does better with a guy that wants to come out and brawl, not a guy that wants to grapple, not really a guy that wants to wrestle. Yeah. The fight that Ryan wants to see and the fight that the fans really want to see is when the big boys come out and they throw blows, and that's what these guys are going to do. This is one of those, like I say, like, if you're going to do a 2-night event, you got to have the big boys in there, right? Yeah. Because the fans love that, and the fans are the one that power these shows. So we're going to give them a heavyweight brawl, a professional heavyweight brawl. Gabriel's going to look to stay undefeated, upset the hometown crowd, and Ryan's going to look to get back to the winning ways. And with a win, this will motivate Ryan and give him the confidence that he needs, really. Yeah, you know what I'm saying? Like, because he's fought a lot of tough-ass opponents, but they're spaced out. Yeah. He fought here, a couple years later fought there, a couple years later fought there. So
he's also kind of had some bad luck with some opponents as well, too. You know what I mean? So that does something to you as well.
Weight cut, or not weight
missing
cuts.
weights
and
lack
thereof, I would say.
Guy got COVID, all kinds of shit. So everything's been on point with his opponent. I look forward to this fight. And once again, when big boys are throwing blows like that, it's a coin flip, man. Yeah. Whoever gets caught.
To touch on Delph a little bit, man, he's been a competitor since he was probably close to in diapers. So all these long layoffs that he takes and all stuff like that, like, I can see why every once in a while he's like, man, I got the itch. I want to fight. Yeah. Man, I got the itch. I want to box. Because it's just in his blood. He's a competitor. And I mean, even outside of fighting, he's doing bodybuilding competitions and stuff like that.
Training people, business
Training.
Yeah,
people,
he don't need to
training
fight.
his wife.
That's what I'm saying.
Training with his wife. It's like he doesn't do this for money. He doesn't do this for fame. He does this because he's got an itch that needs scratched.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well,
So-
and to touch
And
base
you got to
too,
respect that, you know.
and his opponent, not to take anything away, I said brawler and came out and beat the guy up, but he trains at Vanderlei Jiu-Jitsu up in Wisconsin. I mean,
Yeah.
that's a stellar team.
Yeah, it is.
With his son, Gabe. You can't get him a fight. I mean, his jiu-jitsu is so damn good. He can't find a pro debut.
Yeah.
And they just had an LFA in Brazil. It's the perfect place for him to make his pro debut. They didn't have an opponent for him.
Oh,
damn.
So like I've got some ideas for him, but like right now it just doesn't make sense for who I want to match him up with. But
Yeah.
he's coming from a highly respected, legitimate team to fight Delph. So it's gonna be a fun one.
It'll be great.
Hell yeah.
Oh boy, couple veterans. David the Nightmare Glover versus Brant the Beast Cooper. Woo! Okay, so David Glover, I'm gonna tell you what. Contrary to the local fan base, I'm a fan. He's beat up a lot of the Militich boys. He's beat up a lot of the top contenders through Caged Aggression. He comes down here and he consistently upsets the hometown crowd because he's underrated. His wrestling's underrated. His jiu-jitsu's underrated, and he will stand with the best of them. I mean, he stood with Jordan Henman. Maybe not the best idea. Jordan's so powerful, but really everybody else he's fought, when it goes to the ground, it's a wrap, and it's a wrap in dominant fashion.
Yeah.
So why the hell would I give him Brant Cooper, who has been struggling with grapplers? Because I love Brant just as much, and this isn't the type of show promotion where, okay, if Brant's struggling a little bit with some grapplers, I'm going to just give him a straight win. I'm not going to do that. I'm never going to do that. And I'll touch base on that when we get to the main event. Brant Cooper knows what he has to do. He's with a team out in Tennessee that, I mean, his teammate Keegan, which we'll get to, slick jits, right? He's got the guys around him that's going to make Brant Cooper a complete, well-rounded MMA fighter in the pro side. We all know from the amateur days, Brant comes and he beats you up.
Yeah.
He's coming here to hurt you. He's coming here to take any stress and transgressions and shit that he's got in him, and he's putting it on you that night. Okay, but this is MMA, and there's grappling and there's wrestling and there's all these things that you have to train for. And I think that these fights make Brant Cooper a better fighter. I think this is a fantastic test for both of them. They're both coming off losses. They both feel comfortable in our cage. They both feel comfortable with Caged Aggression. We've worked with them so much that really, man, that's another one of those coin flips, man.
And what weight is this fight at?
55.
55, and that's what I want to get to. It's been a while since I've seen David Glover, and the last time I seen him, he was not at 55. So I'm ready to see what kind of shape he comes in. It's been a while since I think we've seen him. So, and when we did, we seen him, what was it, at 170?
Yeah.
I'm ready to see what an in shape David Glover can do again, if he can. And then I want to touch on Brant real quick. I don't want to say Brant's problem is struggling with wrestlers or grapplers. He's just making mistakes. He's not struggling with them. He's just not thinking right. He puts himself in a bad position because he's doing everything right, and then he just slips up one time and they take advantage of it. He needs to be more collective and realize what works for him in his game and go back to that. He don't need to be down there with these guys at all time. You got nothing to prove. Let's prove a win. You know what I mean? Love the guy, and I don't think I think he can do well with grapplers. He just is not using his mind and he's making some slick mistakes.
That is so spot on, because what's happening is he's winning. He's dropping guys, and he's on top of them doing what he does best, and then he gets caught. So you're absolutely right. Johnny Hopper, I believe, he was beating the brakes off of him, and then it gets to the ground, and Johnny was resilient, and he got the choke. Same thing here. Like when it goes to the ground, it's because Brant got him there. You know,
Yeah.
he knocked him down or whatever, and he's doing what he does best, and then he gets caught.
Yeah.
So you're absolutely right on that. Staying maybe more composed, in and outs. What are you thinking?
Stay more composed. Don't think that you got to attack them at their game, you know, because like you said, both times he's gotten submitted, he's had them hurt.
Yeah.
Let them stand back up and get back on and put your pressure. He has the length, he has the size, he has the knees. His Muay Thai clinch is some of the best I've seen around here in a while, besides the Blackerby boy. And, I mean, he just needs to do what gets him wins.
Yeah.
Don't go to their game.
Yeah, for sure.
But, Zach, I want to get your opinion on this fight.
Yep.
We're gonna do a no comment on that one. So we moving on to
Wait.
okay.
All I want to say is that Anthony Nachi kicked David Glover's liver out of his body. He ain't beat all of the Milicic guys.
But that was 19 years ago.
Oh, my
four
God.
four Nachi soccer championship seasons.
he didn't beat
like,
any Milicic guys.
Okay.
This could go on for a while.
I thought it was gonna be David the Nightmare Milicic killer.
Oh,
I thought there for a while, but all right.
Killed these
Guess we'll never
nuts.
be able to match up David and Micklewright. So we move on to the co-main event. These guys, I've liked this fight. I don't even know since probably I kind of first found out about Cameron. I've been eyeing this since they were amateurs. You know me and timing. It was an easy move to bump them up to the co-main event when the female couldn't get the passport. Because Dominic, obviously, hometown hero, and he just recently moved back, doing things over with Delph at Delph's Pro Gym, trying to build that MMA program back up. Dominic Martin and Cameron Jordan are literally, from what I can see, they may disagree, they are like standing in the mirror. Like, from size to strength to their specialties, their weaknesses, their current skill set is so down the middle. It's literally, to me, a perfect matchup in every way. Both of them coming off a victory from Sinjin. So, I mean, like, so much of this fight makes sense in terms of where they're at in their careers, you know, how many pro wins they've got, who they've fought. You know, we've talked countless times. It doesn't matter if you're 10-0 if 9 of those guys you knew you could beat.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
Like, we know how it really works behind the scenes. So this fight really shows both guys where they're currently at in their professional career. And I love it, man, because, you know, I've got respect for every single fighter that gets into our cage. I don't like seeing anybody lose, but somebody has to lose that night. And I really do think that win or lose, it's going to make both of these guys better, show them where they're at. But I'm happy that they both agreed to fight somebody that has the ability to beat them, and vice versa. You know, that's big in this fight. Sometimes guys can be selective. Sometimes you look through the history of who they fought, and it's like, well, on paper, that was kind of a no-brainer. This is anything but a no-brainer. It's a perfect matchup, man. And it's a perfect lead-in to this nasty main event.
I'm ready for it. I'm ready for it that you say that, because I don't know much about Dominic's opponent. And you say if it's looking in the mirror, well, Dominic has some flashy wins. Dominic, he wins. When he wins flashy. He wins in style. So if that guy's going to bring the same level of intensity, you can't go wrong there. Both guys will be here ready to go. That's the fight that fans are going to get. The fans need to be happy.
You know, and touching on that real quick, the fans being happy. So, you know, 11 years ago now, when I first started going to shows, I noticed a business model that I hated. And it was, if you were local and you sold tickets, you fought guys that could not beat you.
Yeah.
I mean, you guys know. And it was, I still see them some today. But I was just, as a fan, I was like, how do we change that? How do we, I get it, but eventually the fans are going to see that, right? And like, they're the ones that pay for this thing. So eventually they want to see you fight somebody that is skilled. Right? And I believe we have changed that. You know, some of my best friends, like you guys, have lost fights in our cage, more fights for us than they've lost in any other show they've fought in, because you trust me and you take fights that will advance you in your careers. You take tough
100%.
fights, man. And I can't wait to bring that up in the fighter meeting because, when you get this many fighters that want to be a part of it, they don't just want to be a part of like a cool walkout and a bunch of cameras in their face. They want to be a part of a real fight and a real crowd and a real show. And that's even more humbling than having the amount of interest that we have, is that you want to come fight for us, but you want to fight equally tough opponents. And that's pretty badass, man.
Yeah.
So
And the victory on this type of level makes it that more sweet. Period.
beautiful, man. Beautifully said. So
And the
Woo!
main event.
our Friday night main event. My goodness. Okay. So anybody that knows Caged Aggression knows Austin Hubbard. Man, he likes Shelton as one of those fighters that I believe helped make Caged Aggression what it is today. I truly believe that. Hats off to them, and I will forever be grateful for that because they are like that. They took whoever we asked them to fight, never missed weight, never backed out, always did everything perfectly. And look, they both made it to the UFC,
Right.
Because of that. And, Austin Hubbard, 7-time UFC fighter. And I know I'm biased, man, but the UFC is so damn unforgiving, and it's hard to really wrap my head around what the process is, because you see guys that have lost 4 in a row and they're still there and they've been there 10 years.
Right.
And then you see guys that maybe lose 2 and they're gone, and it's kind of heartbreaking. And I know I'm biased, but I believe Austin did everything right in the UFC, man. Maybe some more flashy finishes, I guess, but he fought the best in the world. They never cut him any breaks on the matchup.
Yeah.
I mean, I know you're fighting the best of the best, but like, he had a tough 7-fight run in the UFC.
Yeah.
And they're telling him, get a couple wins, preferably finishes, get back in there. So he gets to come back home to where one of the shows he started with, and one of the places he was a multiple champion, amateur, professional champion, and just a big name under our banner. And it's pretty cool, man. He, I don't want to get in too much on the personal side. He lost his little brother, and it's a very emotional thing. And I'm humbled that we get to have him back and his fans back and give them a spark of happiness for the night, and to do, a moment of silence for his brother and stuff. But at the end of the day, you still don't get easy fights.
Yeah.
Right? It would make all the sense in the world, especially from an emotional aspect, to bring Austin back home, help him get that easier win to get him back to the UFC. But the UFC is not looking for that easy win.
Right.
They want somebody legitimate that he beats that gets him back.
And knowing Hubbard as well as both of us do in the gym and everything, he's not looking for that.
Exactly.
He doesn't want to fight a bum.
No.
I guarantee it.
He wants somebody that will sign the contract and will show up on fight night.
Yes.
Period. That's all he wants. You got somebody that'll fight me, that'll show up. That's just his words. Then I'll be there. You know what I mean? Just find somebody that'll fight me. So we have a gentleman by the name of Keegan Agnew that, if you do not know this man right now, you will on October 14th. 5-0, coming up from Tennessee. Some of the most underrated, slickest jiu-jitsu. I mean, he's a weird one to really kind of describe the style of fighter he is. He doesn't look like he's going to do anything. So as far as judging a book by its cover, he might be one of the most underrated, well-rounded fighters that's ever fought for us. And you've got 2 completely different sides of the spectrum here. You've got somebody that's working to get back to where he belongs, and you've got a guy that is extremely motivated to use what Hubbard has done to make a name off of him, to get him where he wants to be. And man, bringing your undefeated record. When he came down here, he fought JT Schulte, who is a brick house of strength,
An animal.
man, an animal, like strong wrestler, an absolute beast. And I don't want to say that like he made it look easy by any means. That would be disrespectful to JT, and by no means do I mean that. But I don't believe that JT knew, and I don't even know if I knew.
I didn't. I expected JT to win.
I mean,
I thought I had him picked.
That fight really showed me like, man, this guy, he's for real, for real. And then when I brought this fight up to him, the excitement and the automatic yes, I want that fight. You know, this is going to be the fight that gets me known now. Man, the motivation behind these two guys' fight is huge. And, you know, again, it's one of those where I hate to bring the personal side into the show, but man, either fighter can win that night, and it's going to change the energy in that building one way or another. That's for sure. But I absolutely, stylistically, I absolutely love the fight. And Hubbard, where maybe like he just fought Julian Lane and it was primarily on the ground. I mean, he dominated him on the ground. I think the UFC obviously wants more flashy, you know, stand up, you know, whatever.
And I think choice of opponent had a little bit to do with that too. Julian Lane, I feel like is just like a black eye to the UFC.
They're not looking at a win against Julian Lane. You know what I mean? They're an up and comer who's flashy like this is something they're looking for
sure.
100%.
Yeah, and the thing is that, you know, obviously Austin's comfortable going to the ground, but I think this is the last guy you want to do that with. His jiu-jitsu is super slick, man, and it kind of comes from nowhere, and it's unorthodox, it's underrated, and it's a very, very good fight.
This fight for both men is huge for both because, like you said, it could get Hubbard right there to get back, or it could get him back. And then you're talking on Keegan's side. He's not fighting just somebody from around here that made it to the UFC. You know, I'd say like the common era guys that make it to the UFC, he had the longest run in the UFC in the people that have made it there in the last 10 years.
Yeah.
7 fights. I haven't seen anybody else from here make it 7 fights, let alone maybe even 4. You know.
Yeah.
So he's got a win is huge for him, and then a win for Hubbard is huge, and they both are fighting for something. You know what I mean? So it can't go wrong.
Yeah. This is one that is a win for Caged Aggression as well.
Yeah. 100%, man.
You know, and not to like bring the business into it, but as a business factor, this is something that, you know, it's like Shelton going to the Ultimate Fighter. You know, this is big for Caged Aggression.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm excited to see Hubbard back in the Quad Cities, back fighting. I can't wait to see all 10 million of his fans there because he brings a fucking crowd. They bring party buses from Sterling Rock Falls area, like. It's gonna be cool, man, and I look forward to it. I haven't seen him in a couple years, but he's got a test. He's got a test for sure, and I look forward to seeing him pass that test.
So,
but if he doesn't, you know,
if he doesn't, hats off to Keegan.
Yeah,
and because that's why he took this fight is to make that name, and you know, we'll see what happens next. You know, I know Hubbard is married now and got a little one, so I know family is very important, but that all comes after October 14th. We make decisions on that night, right?
Right.
So
she knows what she married.
That's true. So you know, I always say like I'm kind of a crackhead with these like fight cards and lineups and matchups. The reason that they're fighting on Friday night main event because, like you just said, the energy in that building, the way it's going to be on a Friday night to start the weekend.
Setting the tone.
I mean, and then I wake up hungover Saturday from the first after party like, we have this, and then we have this on night 2. I love these. I love the 2 nights, man. I actually love 3, but not October.
Not in October.
So there's our night 1 recap. Awesome fights, man. Start to finish. I like a lot of these, too, because if we didn't tell the general fan, they wouldn't know whether or not they were pro or amateur. If you match up fighters well enough, they don't really actually even give a shit if they're pro or amateur. They just want a good fight.
I guarantee that probably, how many amateurs are there? 5? 5 amateur fights? 6?
8.
8 amateur fights? I bet you that 6 of them, you'll never know the difference.
They wouldn't. People will be in the crowd asking, "Are these guys pro? Are we at the pro fight of the card?" No,
the debuts,
we
maybe.
ain't even started.
Yeah,
we ain't even
the debuts,
yet.
maybe.
Maybe.
But the rest of them, you'd never know the difference.
Spot on.
I think we should take just a second to watch the preview one more game.
I'm in.
All right, let's do it.
I think we should take... And we're back.
And we're back.
Boom, boom. Here we go. Night number 2.
All right, so before we get into night 2, just want to give everybody a little friendly reminder what these bad boys are right here. All right, so these are all access passes for both Friday and Saturday night.
Those look nice.
These aren't like
Green's my favorite color.
this doesn't get you. This doesn't get you into the
Green means
apparel
go.
booth. This doesn't get you into like the production room. This gets you anywhere the fuck you want. Locker room, cage side, anywhere you want. We are still giving 2 of these away for the weekend for our fans at Fight Talk Unfiltered. Watching, sharing, liking, commenting, whatever. Putting all the names from the last 3 shows into the hat after tonight. Drawing, and we will announce the winner. But this is the real VIP, right, fellas?
Yeah.
Yes, I like those.
People went crazy thinking that the cage side last time was fucking amazing. How about you share the fucking video and try to win these, so then you'll think it's even more amazing, you know what I mean?
Oh, shit. Stop
There
playing.
it is. There it is. So, don't forget, thanks for the support, always. And I'm excited to give those out.
Oh, Tim McCarl finally showed up.
Wow.
God dang,
Tim McCarl or Tim Hernandez?
Tim Hernandez been here.
Tim, what up, Tim? Am I able to win? You're already in the back, man. He already gets a corner ban.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Gets about 5 of them, and you only need 1.
Sneaks in the back and shit.
Loser.
All right. Night number 2. Saturday. Okay, guys. Multi-nights. We've done 17 multi-night events.
Jesus.
What is wrong with us?
Don't even seem like that many.
17
Seven-
separate?
15 2-night events, 2 3-night events. What the fuck? But more importantly, is it just
getting old.
general consensus that Saturday is always going to be better? Because I strive to
I
make
don't
sure it
think so.
isn't. I want to make it hard for you to pick the
I
night
feel
to
like
come.
the 3-night event in March, Friday was the best night.
Remember, I think we said that. We said that we were like, I think all nights were great, but something about Friday set that fucking tone, and it was great.
Wait.
It might have been March or it could
no,
have
it
been.
was. I think it was Thursday night.
Thursday was kind of ridiculous.
That's right.
Friday
That's
went
Thursday?
real late, right?
Yes.
A lot of decisions.
Yes,
It was
Thursday.
Thursday night was the sleeper, and Thursday
weird.
night was the nastiest one of them all.
Yeah, Thursday was awesome.
All right.
There is no there's no rules when it comes to
Real quick
ain't
thing
no laws.
is a lot of people think making it to Saturday night, fighting on Saturday night is, oh, I made it. You know what I'm saying? A little bit like I'm fighting on the second night.
Yeah.
No, because now there's so many fucking great matchups on it. Friday night is sometimes beating the Saturday night, so it don't even matter what night you fight on. If you want to fucking fight and put some flashy shit on, how about you just get there first on the first night and do it?
Yeah,
You know
no,
what I mean?
I love it. I love it. And I try to do that on purpose because, I mean, the ticket prices are the same Thursday, Friday, Saturday. So
Yeah.
I want to make sure that Thursday's fans get the same love as Saturday or Friday. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So I really do. That's probably one of the most challenging part of multi-nights is which fights to put on which night.
Yeah.
You know, traveling teams, all that stuff.
Remember how much she was crying over Thursday too?
I was too. I was like, can we do a Thursday show? Who's going to come on a Thursday? A lot of people. It's fucking awesome.
Hey, just to touch on that a little bit, I had to text you the other day about my friend that was trying to buy ringside tickets on Friday and couldn't get them, but could get them on Saturday.
There you go.
Yeah,
I tell you,
He bought them for Saturday, and he had to buy general admission on Friday.
I will say this. So, you know, talking to Nitro Tickets, the guy that owns it, he says that, you know, across the board, the promoters are like, tickets are way down. Tickets are way down. And he's like, you know, there's a lot of stuff going on now and the time of the year and this and this. In 11 years, we have never been this close to sold out 2 weeks from the show. Both nights. Friday night, you can't buy a cage side. I think there's one table left. We're at full capacity. We are a full packed arena, and I don't know, man.
Something.
It really, really does, man. You know, and I've always said, like, I say it in every fighter meeting, the fans aren't there for me. They're not there for Caged Aggression. They're there for the fighters that are in the cage. But I do think that there are people there now for both, especially if that fighter is fighting for Caged Aggression.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Oh,
It's got to mean something because, man, it's mind blowing, and that gets me super excited. Not just from like a budgeting standpoint and paying for the show and all that, but like the energy in there when it's packed is fucking electric.
Yeah, it's
if you've
wild.
never been, like, it's just different, man. It's a different vibe. It's a different energy than some local shows. I never want to talk bad, but like, it's crazy, and I love that feeling. That's why I keep doing it, because I can't go match that feeling anywhere else. Why is
Freaking nickel wrong?
You guys should fight, man. That'd be
Rude.
a killer.
No, he'd kick my ass. He's kicked my ass for years.
He's still fucking.
He said
I'm
something.
tired of that fucking
I
jerk.
talked to him today. He made fun of my like frosted tips, but he's got a fucking cartoon banner, like billboard and shit on like Brady or something.
In 2 places in the city, I've seen it.
Well,
2 places.
Well, the
now,
one
so.
place shouldn't even count. It's above like an antique shop. It's probably the cheapest fucking billboard you get. Spend some of that
30 bucks
realtor
a month.
money and put it on a big bill, like a digital. I want to see that cartoon on a digital. Got that, Tim? He would kick my ass. I'd pay for it.
Coming off some tenure.
All right.
Welcome to Davenport, Tim's.
Yeah,
fucking
yeah.
sitting right there in his commercial. Come sell a house with me.
Yeah. One day I do want to be like Tim, though. All right. So night 2. Again, got to kick the night off, right?
Yeah, let's get this going, huh?
So do you remember that conversation? Okay. Cue the intro. Brandon Samuelson.
There
versus
you go.
Jeffrey Tooley. Okay, so here's what we've got here. This was one of the later fights I added. This was one I was kind of like, first and foremost, Brandon. He goes way back to the Eric, come on, old school fighter back in the day. Eric Perry.
Perry.
Fucking stud, right? He'd go out.
That's his dad, right? Some shit.
Yeah, he would go out and just fight. I remember those days,
And
man.
he would
like,
win.
He would fucking
was
beat
a
people
tough son of
up
a
bad.
bitch.
Okay, so Brandon tells me, I've been watching my dad, and I've been watching Caged Aggression since I was small, and it's always been a dream of mine to fight for you. Well, fuck, you're in, bro. You pulled on my heartstrings, man. You pulled on my heartstrings. Like, you know, I seen him in the sauna getting ready for his fight up in northern Iowa, and I was like, man, I've got to get this kid on. Like, that just meant a lot to me. And then I saw, and then on the other side, I had Blackerby. Hey, really need to get, you know, he sends me a team of badasses, and I really like to get Jeff on the card. You know, he tells me why and stuff. So I had this like vested interest in both of them. But more importantly, the matchup has to make sense, right?
Yeah.
So remember I was talking a little bit earlier about KJ Arnold, the wrestler that comes out and he's scrappy and he's banging.
Yeah.
He fought Brandon. And these kids went out there and banged. Like, Mike Estes, you're a lucky fucking man for having these two fight in your show, because they came out and they threw to kick off the night. that type of vibe. And it's so important to a show, man, for the fans to really kick the night off. So first, that was easy for me to say, these guys have to kick it off. So big shout out, man. That meant a lot to me, and hopefully, now he knows that, and that like I was listening and I care too, and I'm just as happy to have you on the show, man, because somebody that it means that much to you.
Yeah,
let's do it. So he took a tough loss versus KJ. We've talked about what it does when you take a tough loss. You're going to come back even better, that fire lit. So Jeff, he's making his amateur debut, but his story is he was active in like training and stuff like at age 12, like
really?
Young, right?
Yeah,
right. Into like sports and training and stuff. And then he got a childhood disease. I didn't dive too much into it, just talking to his coach, and it sidelined him for years and years. So he finally got clearance to compete again, get back to training, get back in the gym. Blackerby's great about taking guys, under his wing and guiding them really well. And he's been training him for an actual MMA debut. So does what you did 12 and under matter now? Probably not, but you're with a legitimate team now. They've got you ready enough to say that you're ready for a debut. And what I really like about this fight is that you guys know, and you've seen it so many times, just like I have, it doesn't matter really how long you've trained to prepare for your debut. It's a mind fuck when you walk out there for the first time.
100%.
There's all these people and cameras and stuff like that. So you might as well, like, mentally, if you can't stay focused, that stuff kind of goes out the window, man. It's like that cage door locks. It's like, fuck, okay, now we go. Well, Brandon's already done that. So he's got that to his advantage, that he's got that first walk and he's got that cage time experience to know what it's like getting in there in front of people and stuff. So to me, it's another one where they're going to come out. They're going to be electric to start the night off. I don't have any idea how the fight's going to go. It's truly a coin flip, which I love. And what I do know is that besides the national anthem that opens the show, I couldn't think of a better matchup on this whole fight card to kick off the night.
Awesome. Yeah, I've heard of this Brandon kid a little bit. He's trained with a lot of good people around here.
Yep.
I've seen him in videos and whatnot. So I'm ready to see what he can do, and then get back to his opponent Jeff. Long time off, trained at 12 and whatnot. Let's throw him in there. Let's set the tone, fellas.
Yeah, unable to do athletics for many years. Now he's cleared training with a great team, and that's a great start tonight too.
Yeah,
for sure.
If Samuelson's anything like Eric Perry, he's gonna be a tough son of a gun.
Yeah.
So I look forward to seeing him for sure.
For sure. All right.
Next.
So kicking off, Damon Hoback versus Peyton Wenzel. All right. Damon Hoback, that is Parnell Davis's one of his prodigies. So he trains at Skunk River. He trains with the boys at Skunk River that we all know.
Yeah.
We all love. He also trains with an up-and-coming Manhood Training Center, and he is a wrestler. Okay? So, I sit back on this fight. It's like, all right, so who do I want to match him up with? Another wrestler? Well, maybe. Or I can match him up with a guy, Peyton Wenzel, who debuted for us in March at 185 pounds, versus a wrestler, and actually for not being a wrestler, because at that time he was training with Iowa Top Team and kickboxing over there with Josiah and them. And I talked to Todd over at Iowa Top Team, and he's like, Peyton's really not ready for that tough wrestler yet. And again, like I talked about earlier, I need to know that stuff. That's important to me. Peyton was adamant about it. I want it, been training hard, and he did really, really fucking great in that fight, man. For his debut, fighting a guy that's kind of out of his element, he did really, really, really good. Mm-hmm. I believe it was like a third round loss. Could have even went to a decision. He debuted in March. A tough wrestler. So what's he do? he comes back, and I bring up Damon, tell him he's a wrestler, and he's all about it. And he's moving from 185 pounds down to 170 now. Peyton's big. He was kind of a big middleweight.
Yeah.
So to drop down to welterweight and to fight another tough wrestler tells me that I'm going to take what happened in March. I'm going to spend the next 6 months, and I'm going to prepare for that type of fight. And he's going to fight a guy that's making that first walk, which we talked about earlier. Peyton's got the cage time experience, especially with us. So he's fought for Caged Aggression. He knows exactly what to expect. He's going to be huge at 170. I actually had lunch with Damon. Him and Parnell came down, and we had some tacos, and I got to meet him and got a little bit of a history. State wrestler. And Peyton Wenzel stepping up to the challenge again. But again, much bigger in this fight. He knows what a wrestler's all about, and he's got the experience. But from what I hear on the other side of the cage, Damon's going to be one of those guys that someday's fighting for a title for us. So it's a hell of a test for both guys, and perfect second fight. I don't know if you guys can tell, but I try to leave the wrestlers later. I like to kick off the nights with a little bit more like stand-up type fight. But that's another one of those, really a great test for both guys, and they're both great to work with so far.
Awesome.
Sweet. What else you got?
Woo! We're doing gotta have heavyweights on both nights. Okay. 2 undefeated, brand new-ish heavyweights. Adam Burdock Poulin versus Reese Westfall. I'll start with Reese because Ryan Delph says to me, January, hey man, I got a kid named Nick Woodford, right?
Yeah.
And he says, he's everything that you want for Caged Aggression, right? And I'm like, okay, done. He's in. And he was. He was exactly what you want to work with in a newer fighter, right? And he is.
Guy was a lunatic.
And he gets in there, and you're right. He's got that same berserker mode, which we'll get to him.
100%.
So, anyways, when Delph tells me, I got this guy, he's in, and he was everything that he told me he'd be. He's kind of said the same thing about Reese. Like, Reese is a heavyweight. He's committed. He's very disciplined, and he is a fucking strong brawler. Like, for a heavyweight brawler, like, I went up and I saw his debut fight up in Dubuque, and not to take anything away, it was super mismatched, but Reese got on and just had fun.
Yeah.
Like he was in the gym, except for it was for real, and he just beat the dude up, right? And Adam, he made his debut, maybe Elite Fight Night or something. I forget the promotion. Kind of the same situation. He went in, well-rounded, did his part, and beat the guy up. So they both make their debuts, heavyweights, in different shows. They go out in impressive fashion, beat people up, big boys throwing the heavy hands. And now I get to take 2 undefeated, up-and-coming heavyweights that like to punch people in the face, big, heavy fists, and they're going to fight each other. So you guys know, somebody's O's got to go. The traditional.
Got to go.
And I love it, man. I really do. I love the matchup. We'll say that Adam is much taller.
Where'd you say Adam trains at?
Adam actually comes from Marty's.
I was gonna say I thought I had seen him in videos, and I might have seen him a couple times in person somewhere. I just can't think of where it's at right now off the top of my head. But
it's probably from the Bible. Jesus Christ is our Lord and Savior.
Pull it up on the screen again. Pull it up. Oh my God.
Jesus Christ, our Lord and Savior.
Moment, son.
I saw somebody comment, dude.
Peace
He's
be
got
with
the
you.
locks. They both do, though. Look, Reese got the locks on top, bro. It's the battle of the big boys with good hair.
Hey,
all right.
Reese kind of got the fuckboy curls, though. You know,
hey. So Tim just said Adam's got some pretty good jits. So what happens here?
Maybe that's where I seen him at was Summit before.
What do you guys think when 2 big heavyweights collide? One's a brawler, but one's got jits. I mean, what? Because if you get, the ground and pound changes if somebody's got some grappling skills.
Yeah, well, I heard that Reese has some grappling skills. So I've heard that Reese has some grappling skills. So, he gets the big boy down and the big boy can't get up. I think that could be a key there. But, I've also, if Tim's saying our man Adam here's got some jits, Tim knows if you got some jits or not. So you know what I mean. That says
Gotta
something
trust
right
Tim.
there. Yeah.
Got to trust old
So right now
Timothy.
it's sounding like a coin flip at 1-0, 1-0, and I'm liking it.
That makes it even better. That makes it even better. Yeah, I love that fight, man. All right, so up next, another one of those, man. Another one of those. So we all know the Sterling, Chad Hinton, the second, versus Brody Ivy. We all know the Sterling boys. We know Hubbard, Wetzel, and now this new run of Bellini, Liam, right? This new wave of like the up-and-comers from the same area, Nick Myers boys.
Yeah.
And Nick says, actually, Noah hit me up first. Hey, man, good buddy of mine, Brody Ivy, killer wrestler, state champ, blah, 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 blah. He's ready. Okay? So then, of course, first thing I do, get a hold of Nick. All right, tell me about him. You want him on. You want him on. You want him on the show. Okay. Done deal. It's kind of like a shoe-in when I've got the right people telling me that he's ready.
Yeah.
So obviously a stellar wrestler. So the first thing I say to Ryan Blackerby, how can Chad Hinton do with a wrestler? And he's like, tell me more, you know? And I trust Ryan because he understands that we want to put together quality fights. And he is absolutely okay with his guys going in there and giving all they can and taking a loss if it's a fair matchup.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? He wants his guys to be busy and stay active. And Chad, he's kind of multifaceted, though, because he's not just with Blackerby. He's at actually a couple different gyms in that area. So he's got the jits experience. He's got the wrestling experience. He's got the kickboxing experience. You know, and not to take anything away from Brody, he's up there at Sauk Valley Jiu-Jitsu, so he's training the Jiu-Jitsu side of things, but primarily a wrestler. What I think this fight right here is, though, is Chad is primarily a stand-up fighter, an exciting kickboxer, really good hands, and Brody, obviously a great wrestler. So even though they both train in the different areas, that's their specialties, and this is that perfect classic striker versus wrestler, except for they're both making their debut. So both come from great teams, guys that have made it and that are doing big things, and yeah, it's fights like that, man. Because as much as I hate to see guys lose, like there are 15 shows that either one of these guys can go to right now and get an easy win.
Yeah,
exactly. I mean, I hate to say that. There really is. And the fact that they both want to be a part of this, somebody has to lose their first fight that night. It's not going to be an easy fight for either guy. I love that, man. So hats off to both of them. That's going to be a scrap. I would definitely keep your eyes peeled for that one.
I'm excited for it. You got me excited for it now. I
Yeah.
know that.
Yeah, that's going to be a really, really good one.
Another.
Speaking of,
brought him up earlier.
Berserker Psychopath.
Lunatic. Hey, but it happens, man. He was excited. He got out there excited.
I'm not mad at him about it.
Is it like you get excited and then get caught?
Yeah, and this is the exact thing of what I said earlier. You go out there, you make a mental mistake, you go work on it, and you see what you do next. Now it's time to be in there. Maybe go out there and get a little berserker, but be controlled when you do it. You know what I'm saying? Take a step back, take it all in, and see what you do. That's got to be it.
So that brings us to our next one.
Yep.
Gavin Vervelde versus Nick Woodford. Okay, so Gavin, kind of doing this in reverse a little bit. Gavin is a teammate of a fight we have later in the night, a retirement fight, special one. It's going to be stupid cool. But I've got a couple guys from the Wisconsin area training multiple different gyms, a couple pros later we'll talk about from Wisconsin, and they've got a younger teammate Bob Sexton. Do you guys remember Bob Sexton? He came here and he had a third round. He got knocked out in the third round. It was a really, really fun fight. It was one of those like debut versus debut type fights where the crowd was just going crazy. And in the third round, got a knockout. And awesome to work with. Him and his teammate Morgan Sickinger was just an awesome group of guys to work with. So when they hit me up about the opportunity for October, I was equally as excited. And then they brought up this younger teammate that just debuted. Bob actually threw his own first show in Wisconsin. Went very well, and he had some really fun fights on there. And Gavin was one of those fights. And he goes in there, has a tough scrap, and takes his first loss. And similar to Nick Woodford, that first time going in there, he's ready. I mean, he was absolutely ready to make that walk. It's just like you said, it's different once you're in there, especially that first time. And he was doing everything right, and then he got caught. Right? So now what I have here is two guys that really did everything right and got caught fighting each other. And neither guy is very versed on the jit side of things, which kind of makes the fight even more exciting for this particular matchup because, when talking to Nick about some other opponents, a couple of them had, or one of them had a, really, really good grappling, and it didn't make sense. And I respect him for telling me that didn't really make sense where he's at. It's my second fight. I want to go out there with a great grappler. I want to go out there and fight. And I'm still learning the grappling side. Same thing with Gavin. He's still kind of green in that area. So to come here and just want to put on a show, that's a long trip to come here off of a loss when there's 10 shows in Wisconsin you can hop on tomorrow. So hats off to him, man, for wanting to make the trip. And hats off to both of them for taking this loss as motivation to get back in there and get better.
Yeah, and that goes back to the magic that I was saying earlier about you doing with this matchmaking. You take the time to listen to both guys and hear what they have to say instead of other promoters that we've known around areas and or in the Midwest that will hear you. They ain't really listening to you. They're throwing you to a wolf. You know what I'm saying? They're throwing you to somebody that they know can do something to you. But you're taking two guys that are on the same level right now and putting them together and listening to them saying, I don't feel right with this type of matchup right now. And they're both coming off the same style of losses and putting them together. That just goes to show what type of promoter they're working with and what they could be working with around here. You know what I mean?
No, I appreciate that, man. I've said it before. I'm not a coach. I'm not a manager. My really only vested interest is a good fight for both guys. I mean, because then everybody wins, really. The fans win. Even the guy that loses wins that fight in the end of things because he's going to get better from it, hopefully. But he went in there and fought somebody that he could beat.
Yeah.
That's what matters, that both guys or girls can win that fight. So, and that's one of those. They're still so new to the game, too. Like, they have a lot to learn, but they're still getting in there, so it's really a coin flip, man.
It's going to be awesome. I'm ready to see Nick go crazy again and be more composed.
Hell, motherfucker.
Okay, so I hate saying this, man, because it's such a stacked card, but this right here is my sleeper. This one right here is the one that I have the spotlight on that maybe, hopefully, Caged Aggression gives these guys a little bit more notoriety because they're both great dudes and they're studs. Gavin Lewis versus Cameron Rains. Gavin's up there at Regulators with Eric Koch.
Okay.
Stud wrestler. Matt White, one of our judges, knows his dad. He hits me up, I don't know, last year or something. He's like, you got to get this Gavin kid on. He's good, man. He's really, really good. And he is. And he came here and he debuted in March in impressive fashion. He was really, what stood out for him is really calm and collected. For being a debut fighter, you wouldn't have been able to tell that. Kind of methodical in his approach. Just a very well-rounded kid for being a debut. Like we had said earlier, if you didn't tell the crowd, they would have had no idea that this was these guys' first fight. Very, very composed, very, very, very great fighter. So, as we always do, he comes in here and he wins his debut, so now it's time for us to step up in competition. And same thing with his opponent. His opponent, Cameron Rains, trains at Skunk River, and he's actually 3-0. There's 2 undefeated kids here. And I remember I saw Cameron, I don't know which show he was fighting for, but I had started to hear his name, and I hit up Hinman. And I was like, hey, man, what's up with Cameron? He's like, what do you mean? I'm like, why aren't you sending me his name? What? And he's like, because your show fucks people's heads up. And I was like, okay. And he's like, I want to go get him a couple fights before I put him in your show. And that was kind of nice. That was kind of humbling, I guess. But now it's time. The
Kind of
timing's
nice,
right.
but also kind of fucking.
Like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
I was like, no, but
you, Jordan.
I get it. I get
Spaghetti?
it. Looking out for his boy. And so now he's 3-0. To me, his toughest fight to date, for sure. Both of these guys, toughest fight to date. Both wrestlers, but can stand. This is absolutely the definition of nobody would know they weren't pro or amateur, newer, older fighters. I think the matchup is spot on. One thing that really stands out, though, is Cameron's a 55er, and Gavin fought at 70 and dropping to 55. So that first cut to the 55, I don't know if it would be his first cut because he's wrestled, but his first MMA fight at 55. So naturally, he'll be the bigger fighter.
Yeah.
Cameron has a little bit more cage time, so it really should balance out. As long as the weight cuts go good and everything, that's my sleeper fight right there.
Yeah, and I always like to see that people that have got wins in other weight classes, either going down or coming up, see how they can do with that weight difference. It's always exciting to see. It intrigues me every single time.
And Gavin in March had a shot with his dad. He's a cool dude. Shout out to his dad. Shout out, David. What up, David?
Shout out, man.
What? So yeah. All right. So we move on. The fight before intermission. You guys know this next guy very well. We got Dalton Armstrong versus Scott Buffington. 3-1 Scott Buffington came down here and fought Quinn Murphy. Quinn, stud wrestler, obviously getting a shot at the title, which we'll talk about in a little bit. Definitely Scott's toughest fight.
Was that his last fight?
Yeah. Scott comes from Peoria Athletic Club, but also original Central Illinois Combat Club, Bob Long, one of Bob Long's stable of guys.
Longy.
So when I make an event announcement, Bob Long hits me up, Scott wants in. You know what I mean?
Right.
And I love that because Scott's kind of like me, man. He's a little bit older cat, got kids, and very, very much a family man, very busy with kids' sports and stuff like that, but uses that gym probably, if he's anything like me, uses the gym and the training and stuff to make him a better family man. You know, that's his release. That's where he goes and he loves to train and he gets better. And so I'm excited that he still wants to keep fighting. He's still an amateur too. I mean, he's 3-1. But the thing about Scott is I don't foresee in the type of training atmosphere that he's in that it's super well-rounded training. It's a lot of striking. It's a lot of stand-up, a lot of sparring. And I love that because of who his opponent is. You know, Dalton Armstrong, man, first comes out, has a great stand-up fight. You know, his debut was awesome. He loves to come out and bang. The thing about Dalton is he wants to fight the best guys, and he doesn't give a shit if they're a wrestler or jits guy. He wants to, but for the fans and for him and for styles and stylistically, it matters to me.
Yeah.
And so, you know, we give him Matt Hughes' son, obviously 900% wrestler. You know what I mean? And that's how the fight went. Last fight, jits guy, wrestler. You know, so it was like, okay, I know that both of these guys will fight anybody that I ask them to, but let's put a fight together that makes real sense for both of them.
Yeah.
And this is it, man. These guys are going to come out and they're going to want to punch each other in the face.
Yeah.
Simple as that. And like I said about where you line them up, right before intermission, right before we get into the title fights, the pro card and stuff, let's have a couple guys that want to come out and punch each other in the face.
Yeah, exactly.
Really, really good matchup for both of these guys.
I really like this fight. I really do. I like this fight for both guys, but I like it. I also like it for Dalton because I know Dalton. He's got a new drive in him. I'd see this time around. You know, I know him pretty well, and I know that he's got a new drive going into this fight. I can see it in his face. I can see when he talks about it. He switched up his training 100% for this fight, and then he's got a guy coming in who's 3-1, who's no slouch, who's gonna go out there and he's gonna try to push his pace on him, and let's see if he's made those adjustments and can put his new training style into this fight and see what happens, man. And that's why this fight right here before the intermission has all the makes of people talking about it in the bathroom, going to the cassette stand, getting a beer, man, about how great it was before the second round of the night.
Yeah.
It's cool to see like Armstrong's career as an amateur through Caged Aggression, because I remember seeing him in the back and watching him hit mitts, and I'm like, man, he doesn't have a lot of experience, and I could tell. But in the last couple shows, it's like I see him working with Kenny. It's like every time I see him improving.
Yeah.
And obviously the fights that he's been taking, he's challenging himself. He doesn't care who it is. He's just challenging himself on a personal level to fight these guys. Like, oh, fuck a wrestler. I'll fight him. It doesn't matter.
Yep.
You know, it's cool to see that. It's cool to see a guy with just that real true warrior mentality when he's wanting to test himself against guys that it doesn't matter if the matchup is good for him or not.
Yeah.
You know, so it's cool to see him, and I'm glad that he gets to come and fight a guy that's a little bit more like him and not just like a one-dimensional or a real strong wrestler.
Right. 100%.
So I look forward to seeing him for sure.
Yeah, and like we've said it before on other podcasts. It's great to do what he's doing with himself right now as an amateur. Test yourself as an amateur, get that experience, and work on things that you'll see that you need to work on, because it will all build up in the long run. You know what I mean? He's doing it the right way. His record might not show it, but truly he is.
Yeah, and you know, I know you know him pretty well, so I've been following him on on social media and stuff, and he's been working with wrestlers. He's been working on his wrestling. Like, he taking the shit seriously. You know, like he's not showing up to train and do what he wants to do. He's doing shit that he doesn't know anything about and trying to learn at it and get better.
Yeah. No, that's
very
a
testament to his character and to who he is as a fighter.
I mean, this is the time, right? I understand that coaches are different, and coaches want to see their fighters win. Period. I don't blame that one bit, but I also think that at some point you got to put them in there with guys that even maybe the coach thinks, "Fuck, man, this is a tough one." Like, this is a tough one, because that's going to make your amateur fighter a real professional someday.
Yeah.
You know, I'm not a fighter, so I'm careful on what I say, and I don't put myself in those shoes, but I've been in the game a long time now. I've matched up a ton of fights, and I really think that careers that I've seen unfold, man, you got to go in there and take some of these really tough fights as an amateur to learn. I mean, if you 10-0 as an amateur, is super selective or whatever, man, how much did you really learn? But at the same time, man, it's up to me to put together a good matchup, you know. And I think right now where these guys are both at and how they fight and everything, it's perfect.
It's a great matchup.
Yeah, it's perfect. And so then everybody goes and takes a leak, grabs a beer, and we come back to which, man, these last six are so damn fun. So I'm going to start with our first title fight on the card. It is a bantamweight, 135-pound title fight. Brandon Peshek versus Cameron Cook. Brandon is from the One Touch Fight team and academy. So they've got the welterweight champ, Jerry Areola. They've got the Mackenzie, the 115-pound strawweight amateur that's quickly making a splash. I think she's up to 3-0 now. She's fighting for a title, I believe, in November. A tough up-and-coming team of amateur fighters that they will build into pros, and they're doing a great job of that. Brandon is one of them that he was supposed to fight in this last show, and he had a super bad snowmobiling accident, like really bad, like broken leg or something, like really, really bad. Could have been way, way worse. He was crushed. It's one of those times where, like, it's not a phone call or a message like, "Hey man, I can't fight." It's like a heartbreak. You know what I mean? And that sucks, because as you guys know, you put so much into a camp, all the sacrifices, and then something forces you out of it. It's not that you got a small injury, then you're deciding, like, there was no fighting. Yeah. So this is like his comeback fight, his comeback from the injury. A lot of motivation in that. He was already a top contender before that, and it's the perfect fight. He was actually the guy that was in line for Lee. for Lee Colvin. Lee got the broken arm in his fight when he won. I talked to Lee. This wasn't a vacating belt or anything like that. Lee is going to go pro next year, and so this was just the perfect time to make this available still for Brandon. And we got a fighter named Cameron Cook that steps up. Ah, man, this kid is fun to watch, electric, and super unorthodox. What I see in this fight is I see a guy like Brandon who is a little bit more controlled in the wrestling side of things, and then a guy that comes from that street fighting mentality that transitioned into MMA and quickly picked it up.
Yeah.
So he's comfortable on the ground. He's comfortable standing up. He's a much bigger bantamweight than Brandon. Taller, his length, his striking, and the response that I got from him when I brought this matchup up and the opportunity was enough to sell me that this fight right here is going to be an awesome comeback from intermission.
And he's from where again?
So he's from Impact MMA. So Sean White hooked up with those boys. Jordan Trower's last opponent, he's on their team. Tony Folkers was their coach, and he fought one of the Skunk River guys. And it's funny because I don't want to get into names. If y'all want to look it up, you can. But when I offered the Skunk River guy, Cameron, in March, Skunk River guy says, I'll fight him, but I wanted somebody better. And Cameron put it to him.
I know. I remember the fight. That's what I'm saying. I couldn't remember where he was from. I remember him, and I remember his fight. I liked his style. I liked how he came out there and put it on.
Yeah.
I did.
You know, and sometimes, I mean, that happens. Like, well, I'm thankful I didn't give you somebody that you thought was better because clearly that was a test.
Yeah.
You know, that you didn't win. So, yeah. I think he did it. I think he did enough to come in here with his debut for Caged Aggression. I believe this says is going for his 6th amateur win. If he can, Brandon's strong, and if he can keep the wrestling, if he can keep long and stay on the feet, then he has the advantage because of his size and his stand up.
Yeah.
But if it goes to the ground, then he's definitely got his hands full.
All right. I like it. I liked Cameron's last fight. I'm ready to see what he could do. So I was intrigued when I seen that and what you had to say about his opponent. So.
Okay, so let's keep the title fights going. Lightweight, vacant amateur title. Oh man, can you guys talk about this fight before I do? Because man. I don't want to say anything that's going to get me in trouble. Joey Reyes versus Thomas Blackerby. Thomas Blackerby came out, made a ridiculous splash on the scene with Caged Aggression because his Muay Thai was stupid. In his debut fight, when he transitioned from kickboxer to MMA, it was incredible. Versus a wrestler. Now, what is interesting about Thomas is that in his last couple fights, he showed that he can also wrestle.
He did.
Right?
Yeah.
Tyler Albert is no joke, man. The kid is super strong. He doesn't give up. I mean, Tyler Albert's a stud. Yeah. I believe that Tyler was out of the game for too long to come back to somebody as fresh as Thomas, who trains probably multiple times a day. And so maybe that's where the mismatch was a little bit in that fight, is that, you know, Tyler, in what we'll call his prime when he was fighting, was actually maybe a better test for Thomas. But all in all, he's got the jits. He's obviously got the stand-up. He can hang with wrestlers. But Joey Reyes is a different breed, man. Joey Reyes is like this quiet and super strong, well-rounded sleeper. This is absolutely Thomas's toughest test to date. And I don't know, the whispers I'm getting is that Thomas made such a splash on his stand-up that maybe Joey doesn't have a chance. But I surely hope that he's not underestimating him, because Joey Reyes he doesn't put himself out there. It literally will take me a week to get a response from the guy, right? And to the point where you start to worry, like, hey man, you alive? But he is. He's training. I've had his teammates messaging me, making sure certain submissions were legal. Like, they're taking this very, very serious, man.
Yeah, what the hell does that mean?
He's flying under the radar.
I'm telling
and
you,
he's looking
man.
to fucking.
I'm
trying
telling
to
you.
grab somebody by the balls.
He's looking to spoil some shit.
So I
We're getting
don't.
out here.
So I don't want to get in trouble. But on both nights, if there was an upset of the weekend that I can absolutely see happening, but I don't actually think it's necessarily an upset, it's that fight right there.
So he's coming in to shock the caged aggression world. Then
Yeah.
is,
Well,
is
I
what it's
mean,
going to be.
To be honest, Blackerby has the hype.
That's what I mean. Knock the
skill
hype
level, the skill level, maybe it's not an upset, but the hype could be an upset.
That's what it would be. Everybody knows Blackerby because he's, he's been built up.
He's made a good impression.
Yeah, he's made a great impression. He's had flashy fights. He's been putting it on. So, yeah, this would totally knock that train full of steam that's rolling down the tracks right now off. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean,
Oh, and speaking of like taking the tough fights, Thomas Blackerby, when have you seen a 3-0 amateur get signed with Iridium?
right.
Like,
We're gonna bring
you know
that
what I
up.
mean?
We're
Like,
bring that up too.
and so wouldn't it make a little more sense if you were trying to carefully tailor a career since he got signed to not fight a guy like Joey Reyes right now?
Right.
But they still are. They still love the opportunity. They still want that title. And I think a win like that will really catapult him, and then we would see him at the pro levels next year for sure.
Mm-hmm.
But a loss may really change the spectrum and change maybe something in the training.
Might just take a step back and regroup for a minute.
Yeah, yeah, man. I love that fight. I love that fight. It's a fight that like Joey and I had talked about in the past when he's been here competing and there was never a doubt in his mind. That's the fight I want. That's what I want to do. And here we go, man. I love it.
Him.
Yeah, for sure. So speaking of amateur title fights that just line up perfectly, we'll move to the next one. In featherweight, Quinn Murphy, Noah Bellini. Zack is leaving to pee. That is a first, ladies and gentlemen.
There's been many times I've had to, and I never stood up, but
He can't.
Zack had to do it.
Zack Micklewright, baby bladder. Baby bladder. All right. What is it, 10 seconds here?
No, there's no, just keep rolling. We just roll with it. We'll put it back when we come back.
All right.
Quinn Murphy.
All right, man. This would be like if you and Zack fought. Like two dudes that are my buddies, man. They're my buddies. They're fucking my buddies. They're cool dudes that, they're...
I called this on the post on your page, fight of the weekend, fight of the night, period. And so you already know how I'm feeling about this fight.
Yeah.
I'm fucking ready for it.
Yeah,
period.
man. I really do. Super side note, like Josh Neal, I love his mom. Quinn Murphy, love his mom. She's awesome too. These fighter moms are fucking awesome. Anyways, let's get to the real deal. Quinn Murphy, Noah Bellini. I'm gonna start with Noah because if there's one thing that really stands out in this matchup is that Noah is probably a 55er.
Oh yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Strong, tall, long, big, well-rounded. I think the weight cut could be just as tough as the fight on this one. As long as he started, well enough in advance and he's doing it right and the cut goes well, then this fight is truly down the middle, spot on, a beautiful matchup. They've both obviously done what I feel was necessary to earn the opportunity.
100%.
They fought quality opponents. Everything from commitment to styles of fights, just everything, man. I couldn't be more happy to give these guys the opportunity. It will be one of those where, man, it's going to suck to see one of them lose, but just, I'll be super happy to see one of them win, man, because they both worked really hard for the opportunity. Man, it's featherweight, Tim. And, so obviously you got the wrestler in Quinn. Noah can wrestle. He just doesn't want to.
Yeah.
He would much prefer to stand and bang.
He's well-rounded.
Yeah, he's got the jits up there with Sauk Valley. And I know he's been cross-training. He's been taking it very serious. But, at the end of the day, they're amateurs. These kids are going to work all day and then going and training for an opportunity like this, and that's awesome. And but it's hard. It's not easy to work all damn day and then go put in that training. They know what type of fight they have ahead of them. Their toughest opponents for sure. Yeah, man, I don't even know what more I can say. They both come from great teams, great coaches. This is definitely a fight where you would not know the difference. Amateur, pro, how many fights they've had. I really have no idea. If I had to predict this one, man, I think that it comes down to, Noah's got the size and potentially the strength advantage. Quinn maybe has the wrestling advantage. I don't know, man. What do you guys think?
I think this fight's going to come down to heart. I really do. I think both of these young men have had great careers. They've both surprised the hell out of me in every single fight they've had. And this goes back to my point earlier. This is the type of fight that you test yourself, and if you get that W on this level of show, it's just that much sweeter. And I think this fight will come down to heart. I think they will both be tested everywhere in this fight. And it's going to come down to who's got a little bit more grit that night, and that's who's going to walk away with the W.
Because they do have a lot of fights with decisions, and so like it could be a battle. I mean, neither one of them have been 5 rounds, even at the amateur level. So if it gets pushed into the 4th and 5th round, you're right, man.
Yeah.
It does. It comes down to heart, because at that point they've figured each other out by then. And now it's like who's in there for the long haul.
100%. I think that's what's going to come down. Could be wrong. Somebody, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
could go out
totally.
there and just fucking go out there and do what they plan to do. But that's just how I see it going. And either way, it's going to be a great fight.
Yeah,
for sure. I think they're both dogs. Bellini, he made a fan out of me because, he beat the Super Saiyan.
how'd it go?
For real, he beat the Super Saiyan, so he's a fan. He's got a fan in me.
Yeah.
And on top of that, he's got a good attitude. He's got a good fighter mentality. He tried to win ringside tickets to his own fight on the podcast, which makes no sense to me, but you gotta love him, man.
You can scalp
he gets
him,
an
bro.
A for
Yeah.
effort.
Put him on StubHub.
Like, bro, you can't win tickets to a fight that you're fighting in. It doesn't make sense.
That's awesome.
But
all right.
yeah, this is a really good fight, and I'm looking forward to this big time.
So we're gonna move on to pro card, and I got a fight here. I had one of the managers from Iridium that I really like. He's from the Wisconsin area originally, and he hits me up. He's like, Morgan Sickinger, huh? Morgan Sickinger or Jake Clemmy? He's like, did you give Morgan somebody he can beat? And I was like, absolutely not. Let me tell you exactly what I gave Morgan. I'm a sucker for milestones in your career. I've said that. I love debuts. I love pro debuts. I love first title fight. I love retirement fights, right? I think that if you fought for a really long time and you've made a name, in the game, that you deserve more than a fairgrounds fucking bullshit ending, right? I just truly believe that.
Yeah.
As much as you can. So, Jake Clemmy, he's one of the old school MFS guys, Joe Jordan, fought back in the day. You trained with him how many times? You trained with him, and the guy.
Jake Clemmy's my first fight ever.
Yeah, right? Weird. Well, I was going to get to that. So it's weird. So Jake Clemmy, though, he's that guy that, man, it's been a fucking tough week. I don't have a fight coming up, but I'm going to sparring Sunday.
Oh, yeah.
Right? You know what I mean? I just want to
yeah.
fucking punch somebody. I want, and Jake's one of those guys that same thing, his last couple fights, it's been a while now, but he just wants to go in there and fight, right? But unfortunately, the last 2 guys that we matched him up with, they did not want anything to do with that.
Yeah.
So what they did was, one guy in particular, Jake stood in the center of the cage, come on,
yeah.
and he would not engage. He then jumped on his back, and Jake's standing there, and he's just holding him on his back. And then Anthony Bacam was all ground. So Jake's like, man, my last 2 fights of my career are guys that didn't want to fight me. That's stupid, right? I'm like, that time will come. We talked briefly about it in March. I could kind of tell that like things weren't all the way engaged.
Right.
And that's what you need. Obviously, you guys know you got to be all in. And he was all in for October. So in the meantime, I met a lot of fighters in the Wisconsin area during COVID because their governors and whatever were bitches. And
Man.
so a lot of these guys couldn't fight, man, and it was their life. So I was introduced to a lot of gyms and coaches and teams and stuff in the Wisconsin area, and I met a guy named Morgan Sickinger, who is like, we have guys in Iowa that like, you know, had a million fights and they fought everybody.
Oh yeah.
And the reason that the guy from Iridium said that, did you get him somebody he can beat, is because his last handful of fights have been studs, man. To the like
One of them was Wisely.
Jonas Flock, like studs, man, like fighting guys that like are on the cusp of the UFC type shit because he'll fight anybody,
right.
You know. And to me, I didn't want. Oh, and he says, hey, I want to have my retirement fight with Caged Aggression. And the first thing I think is like, well, why wouldn't you want to do that at home? You know, that's a big milestone. Well, he started working for the Athletic Commission.
Yeah.
It's a perfect transition for him because he loves the sport. He's a coach, you know, a gym owner. He's like the definition of MMA, and he wants to stay involved in the sport.
Yeah.
And that's you either open a gym, start an MMA promotion, or work for the commission. You know what I mean? Right?
Right.
So he starts working, and they say you can't fight in Wisconsin anymore because you work for the commission, but you can still fight in other states. Well, he chose us, which is super cool, man. Like, I always feel humbled when people do that. So the idea that I get two guys that are true 15, 20-year veterans, like that both want to retire at the same time with Caged Aggression, man, that's special to me.
Yeah.
But again, nobody gets an easy fight, right?
Even if it's your last one, yeah.
I mean, Morgan is not only like coaching, but cross-training at all these different gyms and all these different like he's very, very well-rounded, and he's fighting a guy that is also well-rounded but doesn't want to do that. He wants to come out and fight, right?
Yeah.
So either guy can absolutely win this fight. I mean, I would love more than anything if they met in the middle and let it all go for one last time. But at the end of the day, I know they both want to get their hand raised. And I'm just really thankful that they chose us, and I think it's going to be a great end to that chapter of their lives. And I think it's a show and a fight and a presentation and everything that they both deserve. And man, I appreciate them both for letting me do it.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a great fight. Like you said, both retirement fights on Caged Aggression. I've heard of Morgan before back a while ago, and then I had to refresh myself on him recently and seeing, you know, he's like you said, he's fought some who's, you know what I mean?
Man,
he has
yeah.
a loss.
Sure.
He went to decision
lot
with
of
Mike
guys.
Richmond back in the day. And that says
he's
something
fought-
right there.
yeah,
That
he's
says
a-
something right there. And then we got Jake Clemmy, who I've known for a while. He hasn't fought for a while. I'm ready to see what he can do on his last fight in there. I mean, we're talking to the guy who hit me the very first time ever, and I felt it in my toes with 16-ounce gloves, you know what I mean? So,
Yeah.
I mean, it's...
He probably had a
that'll
bad day
laugh
at
at
work.
you.
He probably had a bad day at work.
I looked at him, my eyes were watering, and he's... Because it hit me hard enough, I felt it in my toes, and he's laughing at me. I go, "Fuck! What am I doing right now?" You know, it was a young time in my career.
It doesn't matter how hard you hit him; he's gonna laugh at you.
Yeah,
for it.
Yeah.
And
right.
then, I mean, it's great. I'm ready to see what both these guys can do at the stage in their career, and who's
Yeah.
gonna walk out with that one last W. It'll be awesome.
Yeah, for sure, man. I think it's a great fight.
So
So
what weight is this at?
these guys are fighting at 150.
150. Okay.
Yep.
Clemmy's always been that guy that wants to challenge himself with weight cuts as well.
Bro, I saw one that
Trying
looked
to go
like
135.
Christian Bale. Like I saw
Down
one
here.
picture. He's like
Here.
135 or some shit.
Yeah, dude, he's a wild man for that.
Yeah. Crazy. Yeah. That fight is gonna be crazy, man. Like,
It's gonna be great.
I love it.
Yeah,
And Jake's gonna bring a lot of folks, and
a lot of old
everybody's
school
gonna be
people are
cheering.
gonna be in the crowd.
Yeah, man. A lot of Amsterdam Gentlemen's Club folk, and like.
You know,
I mean,
Ryan
he's-
Antle gonna be there.
That
What
was
up,
just,
man?
I was literally just going to say that. Them guys have been boys for, decades.
Yeah.
And yeah, man. Clemmy is the man. He's just like a real blue collar guy that just wants to fight, loves to get punched in the face, and loves to hit people as hard as he possibly can.
Yeah.
I never fought a day in my life before I fought him, and we knuckled down and fucking threw. And in the third round, he ended up getting me. He ended up taking my back, and I remember him having me in a fucking rear naked choke, and I was staring at my friends through the ring. And I didn't know what to do, but for whatever reason, I was not fucking choking out. Like, I was just staring at my friends like, I don't know what to do. Like, this motherfucker took me down. I don't even know what wrestling is.
Yeah.
And he ended up winning a decision. But then, I mean, we trained together for years and years, and there was always like this thing between us where we just punched the shit out of each other. I mean, it was like a battle of who could hit each other harder. Yeah. He'd always be laughing. And, well, I'd always laugh back because, I had to.
You couldn't do anything else.
I had no other choice.
No, that's going to be a fun one, man.
This is going to be a good one. Good one for the ages, man, because they're both well experienced. And what Morgan's 37 years old. Jake's probably pushing 40, 39, maybe 40 years old. So it's going to be the battle of the fossils,
And what the other thing too is like super busy dudes in the real world.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
Business owners and coaching and Jake's got the shop and trying to train, and he's got like 5 kids, and I mean everybody's so busy. So
high school sports with Jake.
Yeah. To commit to this and to us and it's just awesome, man. It's a special fight for me, and I don't want to beat a dead horse, but like both guys get the mic that night after the fight. Their farewell, and it's very, very cool.
Hell yeah.
So this next one's kind of weird, man. It's a co-main event with 2 guys that have absolutely no fucking social media. Okay.
Great pick, Mike.
Great
job,
pick. Mike.
At co-main.
Hey, so here's the thing.
Absolutely no social media.
This is when in 2022 that Mike Goodwin knows something, because you don't know these guys. Some of our Caged Aggression fans know Jeff, but Cortavius Romeos versus Jeff Jepson. Cortavius, St. Louis, 4-1, recently signed with Iridium. Stand up, fun ass, exciting, Eric Wisely style fighter.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Jeff Jepson, who I like to call Little Wisely, because that's basically has always been his main training partner.
Yeah.
He kind of mirrors him. Jeff is that type of fighter that gets better as the rounds go on. Gets like, you know what I mean? Hit him a couple times, and then he gets even more. This fight right here, at least on paper, guys, is something that is hard for me to promote because there is no social media for these guys. But I'm telling you, man, stylistically, if they both come in here healthy, that is a ridiculous setup to our main event.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Tim said Jeff probably doesn't even know how to use a computer.
Well, there you go. So shout out to Jeff's wife for putting a little stuff out there for us, because I tag her in this stuff, like, hey. But no, Jeff, new father as well, I believe. Talking to him, I don't know how many fights he has left.
Mm-hmm.
I think maybe next year could be like the end of his era.
Well, he's fought everywhere, and
right.
For everyone, I feel like I've trained with him for years too, and he's fought pretty much everywhere, and he's ready to fight anyone. So
yeah, in his last couple fights, what Jeff has been doing is been fighting these really tough grapplers,
right?
Mm-hmm. And LFA, I guess you don't get to talk about the opponents. You just yes or no.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying? Yes or no. Well, but he's a really fucking good grappler. Okay, bye. You know what I mean? It's yes or no. There isn't. Here's 4 opponents. Choose one. So he's been fighting these really tough grapplers. Tyus White, man, he's a stud up there from Pura Vida, and submission.
Oh yeah, little Afro guy.
Yeah,
he fought for you once, right?
Yep. Yeah, and he fought Nate Williams, and super strong wrestler, ground guy.
Yeah.
Dislocated his shoulder popped out in the middle of the fight. Fight's over, and then they rematched, and I believe he lost a decision, maybe a sub. But long story short. Jeff is at his best when he is able to stand there and fight.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, look at Wisely. Where you get the the best fights out of Wisely is when somebody will stand with him. Bad idea, but it's the great fight. This guy wants to strike.
Yeah.
He obviously is well rounded as well. He's 4-1 pro. He knows what he's doing. I believe most of his wins are by TKO or KO. So Jeff will still obviously have to watch out for any ground game, but it's mixed martial arts. But I think stylistically, they both come in to put on a show.
Yeah, I'm excited. I'm excited to see Jeff on Caged Aggression. I know he's been trying to get on here for a while, and so I know this fight means something to him for that reason. And the guy has got a gas tank. The guy's gas tank is never ending. I mean, we'll go through a whole training practice. People are dead tired. He's running laps around the mat, jump roping still, everything. Like, I mean, the guy, I'm ready to see what he can do on the Caged Aggression banner again. And, I'm ready to see what his opponent can bring as well. Like you said, no social media, so you guys really don't know much about these two, but you're in for a treat.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, boys, main event, night 2.
Here we go.
I never want to predict or wonder or guess. You know how they say, well, you guys probably don't, you will soon, Zach. You never know when the last time you pick up your kid, because they grow up and shit. You never know the last time you do this. You never know the last time you do that. Well, these are two guys that long-time veterans, 1 billion fights between them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I want to be we're getting to a point where we're getting, somewhat towards the back half of their careers, but who the fuck knows with these guys? They fought everybody. They've won and lost and had impressive finishes and highlight reels left and right. When I talked to Sean, I said, and I have this guy that I think is such a perfect fight for both of you guys.
Mm-hmm.
And a really perfect way to end the weekend. And he said, who? And when I told him, he's like, I've wanted that fight for a long time. Well, on the other side of the fence, yeah, absolutely, I want that fight with Jimmy Zidek versus Sean West, two just vets. And what happens here is that I don't know if right now is the time where either one are making a run or trying to fight the best in the state to get to the Bellator or UFC. I think right now they are so in love with fighting that they just want to fight opponents that make sense, right? And really, nothing has made sense like this. I mean, they kind of mirror each other as well, except for the fact that Jimmy's bigger. We know that Sean can technically fight at 35. Been fighting a lot at 45.
Yeah.
We're doing a catch weight at 50 on this one. I guess Jimmy had a really, really tough cut to 45 in his last bout. But what it comes down to me with this fight is if both of those guys can prepare themselves mentally in the locker room to go out there and do what they're best at, which is strike, which is their combos, their hands, their boxing styles that and they can keep it composed.
Right.
Because what I have noticed with both of these guys is when they connect, and I don't know if this is a bad or a good thing, but, they say when you drop somebody, you smell blood and you go attack. You never let them recover. But sometimes that method gets them caught, gets them in trouble.
Yeah.
If they can really remember the careers they've had, what they're capable of, and go out there and throw hands, like that fight, man, that fight is off the charts.
I mean, we know what to expect with Sean. You know what I mean? And I hear the same thing with his opponent. So exactly what you said. If it goes out there and it lives up to knowing what they both can do, and they both go out there and are composing or with the same game plan,
yeah,
how can
Dude.
it's barn burning. Sean West per opponent main event every time. So
yeah,
I'm always looking for a way to end an event. We only get to do so many because they're multi-nights, right? And then I know there's going to be that gap until the next one where I'm fiending. But how do you keep the fans and the fighters and the team and all of us excited to come back? It's really how you end the weekend.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
100%.
And so that fight on paper, if, like I said, if they come out and do what they're both known for, man, we'll talk about it for weeks. You know,
Yeah.
it'll ride us right into March for a 3-nighter, and it excites me because again, they're both coming off a loss. Versus guys that arguably they could beat on any given day.
Yeah.
I mean, really. And I say that 100 times, not because I'm biased to them, but because I know what they're capable of. And if they can find that in them on October 15th, everybody's in for a treat, man.
Yeah.
It's going to be such a great fight. If they can find that in them before they walk out, and they come out there and do what they're best at, then yeah, it's gonna be awesome. Awesome main event.
I mean, I don't know a whole lot about the Jimmy Zydek, but I mean, Sean going in there, he just, you know what you're gonna get. You're gonna get a guy that puts all his emotions on the table and fights a dude that, you know, it's just gonna be beautiful violence.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, you can see Sean. I mean, his last fight with Plazola, it's like he knows how to get the job done.
Yeah.
He goes out there and he's not a grappler, but he'll submit somebody if he really has to. He wants to win, but he wants to do it in his way, and he wants to fight his type of way.
Yeah.
Like you said, they want a fight that makes sense for them, not a fight that makes sense for the next step or like a stepping stone to get somewhere. Sean just wants to fight somebody where it makes sense. He wants to get out there and get bloody, and get dirty, and test his lungs and test his abilities. And this is a perfect opponent for him with Jimmy Zydek, who's got just as much experience, and basically an even playing field as far as records and experience. So this is. I mean, it's just all the makings for a perfect main event for a Saturday night.
It really is. I mean, 31 professional wins between the two of them. That shit doesn't come easy, man. I don't care who you are. If you've been in it long enough, you're fighting legit opponents, man. And I mean,
Two guys who have been through the ringer.
Yeah.
Yeah. 100%.
For sure, man. I really love it. And that's what I was saying. Like, I know it gets hard to try to reinvent the wheel. Every show, a new theme, a new color scheme, new matchups and all that. And how do you make this one different than the last one? And how do you make it better, whatnot? What really stands out to me on this one, at least on paper, is the matchups, man. I got to spend a good month building it. I had well over 150 names to puzzle it all together. And, you know, I've had guys that have, I'm going to use Brant as a great example. He's crushed, man. He's fucking bummed that he's not on the card. Mm-hmm. And I even had Ty hit me up. Hey, man, why is Brent not fighting? I got mad love for Brent.
Yeah.
When it all shook out, it just didn't make sense. But he's still sharing all of our stuff. He's still supporting. He's still mad love for Caged Aggression. And hats off to that, because he knows it's not personal. It's just, you know, I'm working on it steady until it all shakes out to what I feel like are great matchups start to finish. But I really feel like the only bad thing about this weekend could be very little time at the after party. Because these might be some longer fights, man, because they're just really well matched, man.
Yeah.
I really felt like I put a lot of effort into making sure they were on point.
I feel the same way. I feel like from top to bottom, both cards of this event, I think this weekend's going to be pretty or that weekend's going to be pretty magical. I really do. I think, you know, I think you might have run into some issues with fighters, you know, coming in on that week before and things like that. I think this one's going to go smooth for you. I really do. I think all these guys are 100% in, you know, barring nothing happens from these next 3 short weeks. I think they're all going to be there. They're all going to be healthy, and they're all going to put on a hell of a show from top to bottom, Friday to Saturday. It's going to be awesome, man. If you guys don't got tickets, get tickets now while you still can.
Yeah, you're playing yourself.
Damn pay-per-views.
If you don't got tickets, you're playing yourself.
Period. It's going to be awesome. I can't wait. I can't wait to be there covering it either and giving live updates and interviews and etc., man.
And if you don't have tickets, we've got 2 tickets.
Ooh,
the best tickets in the house.
These aren't even tickets, bro.
All you got to do, hey, tell them what they got to do, Michael.
do it again.
It's really, really simple. Like, share, comment. Once we're done tonight, it saves, right? The video saves on Fight
shares,
Talk.
who does it.
So then you just share it, like it. You know, these guys hit me up last year. let's do a podcast. So I'm appreciative of the platform to share Caged Aggression, to just shoot the shit about fights and stuff like that. But it helps when you guys like tune in and watch us and share it and stuff like that. It keeps the thing going. So, yeah, I would absolutely love to put these around your neck and let you come experience the whole environment of a Caged Aggression show, from backstage to the cage side and everything. It's really cool. So, we will tomorrow. We'll go ahead and pull all the names from the last 3 podcasts, and we'll pick a winner.
Hell yeah.
2 winners.
Yeah,
A winner of 2,
winners.
I guess. Yeah. A winner of 2.
Yeah.
So all in all, what are main things we need to watch out for, or you need to watch out for as a promoter in these last 2 weeks?
Ooh. So I traditionally call next week Hell Week. That's the week before fight week. That's when everything has to come together. That's when everything on my end needs to be done and ready for setup. From everything, from live show graphics to paperwork to just seating everything. And then the next week is what I traditionally call Hell Week for you guys, cutting the weight, all that bullshit. And those 2 weeks are the period where smaller injuries may seem bigger. Things that come up may seem more important, right? And it takes a different level of commitment and focus. And like you said, man, this one's different, man. Like, I stay very, very, very involved. I communicate with everybody on the card, probably to the point where they're sick of hearing from me. But I'd rather it be that than the opposite, where you book a fight and you don't hear from the promoter till weigh-ins. I'm very invested into everybody on the card, and I've got 52 fighters that are like they just come off equally as excited to be a part of this as I am. So I'm really excited for the lineup. I'm happy with how it all shook out, and I think for me right now it's just a waiting game. Yeah, I'm ready, man. I want to go set this show up, and I want to get after it. I'm probably got to fucking iron a suit or something.
There's cleaners for that. You don't have to iron them.
Oh yeah, okay. So maybe I'll go
I know
to
you got
cleaners.
the money, dog.
Shut up.
Yeah. Your wife makes all that money.
She does.
No, you don't do shit.
Let's state it now on air, because remember last time for the 3 nights, we were supposed to do 3 nights of suited and booted. Zach was done after 1. Zach said, fuck that. Are we doing both nights or not?
What was March? I was busy then in March.
No.
Yeah, because I showed up late to one night.
Besides the late one, you didn't even do it for the second one. We did it night 1 or second day.
Remember.
Hey, I did try on a green suit.
Ooh, fire.
It wasn't.
Yes. That's because you're
I got a big ass forehead though, and that's all I can say. Because I was trying to match the theme. Of course, I love the blue, but like, man, a green. Oh, fuck it. Anyways, we gave our shout outs. Can't wait to see the team. That's the other thing about it too, man, is like 4, 5, 6 months in between, like when everybody gets back together. You know what I mean? All of them, man. From Vargas, I miss all the guys, and so it's gonna be cool to get everybody back together again. And after party is gonna be.
That's exactly what I was just gonna ask. Where's the after party?
No, so Paul handles that, but this time they've got 2 giant tents rented. They've got food trucks. They got DJs. There's not gonna be cramped into some tiny ass room.
Sweet. There's not gonna be 400 people in the podcast studio.
God, I didn't even want to go. So I guess that's.
Lord, I walked in Saturday night and walked right back
standing
out.
on the stairs, looking down at
everybody. Oh, another big shout out, man. Shout out to Pat Militich and Justin Holstein making 52 individual pay-per-view trailers for every fighter on the card. We know Pat because we live here and we've been around him for so many years. But let's not forget the man is a Hall of Famer. The man is ridiculous when it comes to knowledge in the sport. He's lived it damn near his whole life. And the idea that he's taking, let's say, a debut kid that's never fought before, and he's creating an individual personalized trailer for you. That's special, man. And I do expect the fighters to share that. If it gets a couple more pay-per-view buys, great. It helps the train keep moving.
And it helps them.
And you get more money, yeah, but
It
but
literally
man,
tells you how to make that fighter more money.
in Pat's first fight was probably in a fucking semi. They probably put like a couple cones in a semi, and so the idea that you're getting this type of love and attention, man, that was really cool, man. I want to give a shout out to those guys for doing that. That's time. That's time out of their day, money out of the budget to try to promote the fighters and the show and the pay-per-views and stuff. And this isn't no janky ass one camera pay-per-view.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. We may not have a multi-million-dollar UFC truck, but it's a real deal, legitimate pay-per-view, and it's a real deal, legitimate show. And
many cameras, many angles, a lot of action to be seen.
Really cool that he stepped up and did that for everybody and for Caged Aggression. So I'll make sure I said that.
You know, if I could have gotten one of those in my times of fighting, it would have saved me many re-recordings, many dog barks that were fucking up, many telling Lauren to please be quiet, turn the TV down.
Shut up, lady.
I'm learning, man. Nobody
Turn
likes
off The
her
Office.
Yeah. But no, that's awesome. That was great. I was
very cool.
When I seen that, I was like, "Holy shit, that's good shit right there." I like that.
Yeah, it's very, very cool, and he'll be, obviously calling the fights both nights, and yeah, it's just gonna be a great weekend. I obviously about to hit the stressful part of it all, but when fight night gets here, man, I've said it before, there's no feeling in the world like it. To build this thing from scratch, to have everybody show up and want to be a part of it, and the fans pack the house and that energy, it's gonna be great. Couple weeks.
Let's go. 3 weeks. Remember to tune in to the Fight Talk page as well for
right here.
Interviews,
Right
live updates,
here.
cage side pictures of the winners,
us on
etc. Backstage access. We'll be there live, locked and loaded. Can't fucking wait. It's going to be a great weekend.
Better believe it.
And with that, short thank you, Culture Shock Barbershop.
Martinez.
The Paul Martinez.
Paul Martinez.
Print Productions.
Oh, and
he's the one who creates these lower thirds. Shout out to Landon. These are super
Holy
cool.
Shit.
Sorry, what did I say?
Landon?
Laven. I just cut his hair. What a piece of shit I am, eh?
Jesus.
But Paul created these lower thirds for us, and he basically did everything. We're slowly getting our own equipment, but, the shit's expensive. So we got Paul Martinez from Print Productions that's helping us out. Shout out to Tim Hernandez because he asked for it. He wanted a tip, so.
No, he's talking
Tim
about
Hernandez,
my tips.
Oh,
Frosted
your
tips.
tips.
I'm starting to sense a tiny bit of jealousy.
Shout out to Regis
got-
for the frosted tip kits that you can buy from Walmart or whoever fucking sells that shit.
Oh my god.
Anyways, we're going to wrap it up with the official trailer for Caged Aggression. And we're going to get out of here, man. We've been on here for 2 hours and 20 minutes. So
hope you guys
our time is
enjoyed.
up. And Prop Side needs us. So
See you guys.
know how it is.
See you guys fight nights.
See you later.
Peace.